and see where that's gotten us. We have absolutely nothing in the circle. It was redone twice, perhaps 3 times. The original drawings, which we received as landscape committee members, maybe 6 documents. Money, they have to put money aside for things. Projects need to be done. Some of them are very expensive. So you need to have that money now to be invested for the maintenance of this community. You can't keep going on doing little team. He is not the company you even want to do for general maintenance. Because right now, the place looks terrible. The choices that are being made are just very bad. Hope something can be done soon. I see we are going to be reviewing a project right now. I hope that will address some of this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Diana Waters.
A little more of the same. Those of you who went to the Planning Commission know that Pat Neal's Supermarket is being built without a berm and with very little trees. I think this is where we might have time to prepare. Said that building across their entrance, sand ruined their air conditioners, their lanais, and their pool. Before we didn't know how wide Laurel Road would be, but certainly the city plans must be ahead. For those who need a buffer on our side of the road for privacy protection and sanity, how much money do we have remaining from the assessment from 2 years? Maybe we need to learn ways to protect our lanais and our ACs. We also need to protect our real estate values by having the best landscaping, the best amenities, and a beautiful oasis from the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final speaker is Darlene Schimberg.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, Andy, thank you so much for the class this morning on the sunshine laws. I really appreciated it. Answered a lot of questions for me. The second thing is I just want to commend the people at the River Club. I mean, they're working short-staffed. We all know that. But we are serving more people each Friday night, each Wednesday night for the burger and brew and for the fish fry than we have, I think, in the last 5 years. And I think it's really a direct reflection on the recommendations that some of us have made, the how Vesta has taken to them. And, you know, of course, just look at what we've done in the last couple of years and how much we've progressed. I think that that's a direct indication of your leadership and how you've helped us do these things. And I think that that's very important. I also think it's important that we, how do I want to say this? that we respect the time of the employees that are working here at Vesta. I think that we've taken to this open door policy where all of us, including, you know, all the residents, feel that it's okay just to pop in and not really take into account what their chores are or what they're trying to accomplish. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed all the way around, not just the board, not just, you know, it's the residents included. It's like it's a free-for-all. Even if they're in a meeting, I see people knocking on their door and opening it up and saying, can I talk to you for just a second? Well, no, I'm in a meeting. You know, I mean, we need to offer that common respect to these people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There being no further speakers signed in, we're going to close out public comment and move forward with our agenda. We do have landscaping inspection services here, but I don't think John is here.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I don't think John is here, so we're going to have to skip this. If there are direct questions for John, just please send them to me and I'll forward them on to him. He's probably
I just have one question. You had mentioned that I think at the workshop that we're going to
their service only every other month because it's so hard to catch. By the time we review one report, the other one was on top of it. It was, and it's a lot of work for them to do, and it's $600 every time they do it.
Right.
So we decided every other month. We haven't seen that revision to the
Well,
contract come through.
I'm against it, for the sole reason that right now, there's still a lot of things that show up. Okay, so something shows up in the January report. It then goes to the February report, it's highlighted in red, things that weren't addressed.
Sorry about that.
I'm done.
So so we address, so we see the things in red that were not done on the January report. Hopefully it gets resolved by March. We don't know when the March report comes up. In your scenario now, we see something comes up in February that could have been a potential irrigation issue that could have been resolved sometime in January, but now that it's into February, we don't see the report, and LMP doesn't see the report. Our things have now died or are dying, and then we don't know until 2 months later. So now instead of February, it's now May. We get the second report to see that things are now highlighted red, but it could be stuff that was drying out in January. So I think for $600, if we lose one tree because of an irrigation issue, I think it's money well worth spent to make sure that we're getting on top of the issues, making sure the trees get trimmed, making sure that they're, that anything that's potentially loose and falling is cleared out. And if there's not anything done sooner, I think it's being penny wise and pound foolish.
I hear what you're saying. We were acting on what the board requested last
No,
year.
no,
If you wanna- Let me
I'm
finish though. If you want to change that and make a motion.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I was just acting on what the
No,
prior board.
and
had
that's
requested.
fine, and I'm just, and I was a new board now, so I'm just doing it is maintain as best possible.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I originally voted in favor of going to the bi-monthly, as a cost savings provision. But what I'm, I won't say learning, but what I'm realizing is I think that having that report, if nothing else, provided can't find the right words this morning.
Checklist?
Not a checklist, but a priority list
Yeah.
for LMP
Yeah.
to be able to say, okay, these are the things that we need to be paying more attention to. So if nothing else, it was a guide for them to set priorities and follow up on things. So I don't have a problem going back to the monthly reporting.
I don't think we ever went to bi-monthly, by the way. I
Doesn't
think,
seem like it.
no,
No,
we're
I don't
still
think
doing monthly because we never got the revision. So, I mean, I'm okay with staying monthly as well.
Me too.
I mean, everything changes. We have more issues right now because of grass and things, so I'm fine staying monthly as well, especially since we don't have the contract amendment.
I don't think we have a budget for
Once a month.
I do think we have it budgeted for
Yeah.
bi-monthly.
Yes.
So we do have
The
a,
decision was made actually at the budget workshop. That's when it was discussed.
Yeah.
so we have a,
That's what they-
so we'll have like over a $3,000 variance on that.
Well, no,
So 600 times 6.
yeah, it's 36.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll make that back in cost savings on a tree, or 2 trees in the course of a year, hopefully. Or at least, I think $3,600 is well spent to have this community look better, or as best possible under the conditions we're in until we do everything else that we need to do.
Great. Should we call it?
Great. All those in favor, please state aye. Any other items on landscaping before we move on?
Yeah, I've got a question for LMP.
Sure.
The tree the Charlie Brown Christmas tree by the circle, was my understanding that, like I said, I wasn't here when that got planted, and I've heard from people that tree was never healthy when it came in. And it needed a lot of maintenance and a lot of work over the years of fertilization that we paid for to try to keep it healthy, and it came down in the hurricane. Is that under warranty, or because we accepted a dead tree and tried to keep it alive, we're responsible for it
What
now?
tree are you talking about, Charlie Brown?
Yes, in the circle?
Royal Ones, yeah.
Oh, the Royal ones, yeah.
Yeah, so what, in the circle? very
No, it went
expensive
through
tree.
a couple of hurricanes and finally snapped off.
I know, but it was, when I understand, it was never healthy to begin with.
Oh, no, it's a very healthy tree.
It
We
actually,
just had,
it
we went through
started
a
to
couple of
bloom.
hurricanes.
It started to bloom, it was doing well, and then it got hit by lightning, and it split the trunk. And then the
Oh.
last hurricane took it out. So it's kind of an act of God.
Okay.
But- Acts of
Because
God.
I wasn't here, I just, people told me that tree was never healthy to begin with, so I don't know.
The tree
I
has
was not-
been through the ringer,
Okay,
and there
all
was
right.
a lot of question about was it the right size, blah, 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 but
Okay.
all like the last 5 years now, yeah.
Like, I've heard conflicting information on that. Okay, if that's the case then.
I didn't know that.
I have a few for you, few questions for you, Bill, if I could.
Yes.
Are the poinsettias covered under warranty?
Well, the poinsettia, the
They're
poinsettia is considered an annual,
But they
Yeah.
don't look good.
right? And, we went through, some near freezing temperatures,
Yeah.
some really high winds, they just had a bad start.
No,
And not to mention,
no.
an annual by definition is, 90 days, 120, consider yourself lucky. So,
Yeah.
no, the poinsettias would not be covered.
What did
by
we pay
warranty.
for them, do you know?
It was part of the annual flower rotation,
Yeah.
10, 15?
whatever,
No, it wasn't that
no.
much.
But
that's
didn't
not
every
much. It
community
was
go
much
through
less
the
than
same
that.
amount of wind and cold temperatures nearby here?
There were.
Ours never looked good from, within the first week, they never looked
I never
good.
went in, they didn't look good.
We have poinsettias in our front yard that are absolutely
Yeah,
gorgeous.
I've got people in the neighborhood that puts this in pots, and pots even more susceptible to stuff that's planted because of
That's
the temperature variation in the soil in a pot.
You have to remember, especially the ones out front by the fountain, they're right on
I
the
look
road.
for
Terry,
Okay.
and ask them to be pulled ahead of the rotation.
Right.
And so they're gonna till the soil, so it looks nice, and then at least like bare soil. And then the next rotation, with flowers that we know have worked here, and there'll be orange and red varieties of sun patients.
Okay, okay.
And those always flourish really well and they look really nice, so. But we all agree, the poinsettias, man, they just,
Yeah,
last year they were absolutely gorgeous, which is why we wanted to redo them. And this year, they had somebody see, they kept toppling over and we kept seeing it was the sandhill cranes. They were picking them up and throwing them over so they could get to the dirt. So it just was not a good, we won't do that again because of that issue.
Christmas palms by by the guard shack, they still don't look good. I mean, is it time to give them the boot? What do you think?
The 3 Christmas palms by the guard shack.
Yeah, those little ones.
On the second island,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're doing fine.
You too?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, they could be greened up a little bit, but we have to keep in mind, we're in the winter months. Still,
Okay,
we'll give them another shot of fertilizer and hope for the best, but
okay,
no, they will be fine. There's no reason to pull those out. There's no reason for alarm.
okay.
So can we go back to the flowers just very quickly, the flowers over here by the river monument? Are we gonna make sure that the irrigation's working in there before we actually do any planting? Because traditionally what we see is we put in these gorgeous flowers and then they don't get water for like 3 or 4 days, and then they look like poor little souls. So are we taking steps to make sure that the irrigation's working before we do any planting at all? Because I don't wanna see them wilt like they've wilted in the past.
Oh, and that's protocol.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And is irrigation on enough times? I know it's been very dry here, and do we have enough, are the cells going enough days, Keith, to keep them alive? Or do we have to make arrangements for additional watering? Because it doesn't make sense to plant something that's gonna die because we're not getting enough rain. And we can't, and I know that the way the zones are set up, we just can't.
I believe that most of them are getting enough water. The thing out front, I've been out there and we do check at wet checks to make sure that the out front is working during wet check periods on Mondays, to make sure that the irrigation is up and going. You can make excuses all over the world. We got rain, we got water. Wind will whip through there and dry it out fast, because it is exposed out in that area. There's an excuse. Well, excuses aren't making it, and so we just gotta find the right combination, and it just seems like sometimes, every time we turn around, we think we have the right combination of flower versus water versus plant, and then all of a sudden, we didn't figure in for the wildlife. And so deer are eating it all up and they're gone, and the sandhill cranes tearing it apart. I don't know how many times Dan picked up, one of the bullheads and put them back in, and to come back up 3 hours later and sandhill cranes taking them out again. So we've tried, there's, like last year, the plants out front did beautifully during Christmas. They were gorgeous for months. And we were all singing the praise, hey, this is great, this is great. We can do that again. Well, then circumstances, I'm not gonna make excuses. I've seen the water on, and we do test it. LMP is here every Monday to make sure irrigation is
What
on.
I meant was, is what we're giving it enough? I mean, I know we can't run zones every single day to keep the flowers going, so is once a week for newly planted
Well, we're doing it
flowers.
more than once a week right now. We're doing it
We
twice a
actually
week.
changed those zones
Yeah,
to 3 times a
3
week for
times.
the flowers.
Especially out front.
It still didn't work.
And
That's why
so,
we're not doing it.
it's
And
a
was
lot of times what we have out there at the front is, and I've checked with the fountain people, that with the wind that we're having, it's blowing that water out of there that's chlor. And so I have talked with those people, and they haven't given me a call back yet. I wanted to know if there's another chemical, lack of a better word, to put in there so that it's not killing our plants. Before we dug and put the overflow line underneath it, so it comes out underneath the plants, but for years it was on top. And we've dug that and drilled a hole, and now it goes out underneath, out into the drive. But the oversplashing from that, I'm sure, has something to do with it. It's not all of it, because it happens, it was last year, worked great. Do we have the winds that we had last year that we had this year? I don't know. But, you just keep on, you gotta try, and then something else hits you in the face, and you just try to figure out the best scenario, best watering, best that we can get done, so.
Did anybody I'm sure you probably did, did anybody actually check to make sure that after the watering is done, that the plants themselves are actually, the soil around the plants are actually moist? I mean, or are we just assuming that's happening?
Are you checking?
Well, I understood what he said, but yeah, yes.
The answer is yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So, okay,
And again,
I'm just trying to figure what possible variables that might be to see if we
No,
can.
this is what we do, this
Okay.
is what we do. For a living every day, you have to forget, that we did have, we had a stretch of some really cold weather and some major wind.
I get
And
that,
those
but-
poinsettias are very, very fragile, they're exposed out there in the road, and I get it, some homeowners have them tucked away.
No, but it's all the plants, the past year, all the plants have not looked good. I mean, you drive by area, they're exposed, and it's really pretty. You drive up Monterey, you see beautiful front entrances for communities that are nowhere near
Yeah, they're not.
the level of we are. And I'm
They're
just,
not poinsettias.
no, but a lot of the plants this year just
So
didn't
maybe
look
we
good.
shouldn't be
Yeah.
planting
That's
poinsettias.
why we're not doing it. It was like a perfect storm this year with the wind, the weather, the fountain. We never had that much
Okay.
splash from
We
the
beat
fountain.
I think we beat
We
this.
beat
I
it
think
to
we- I think we
death. We're
beat
not
this to
doing it
death.
Yeah,
again.
okay.
Yeah.
But one more quick thing.
Sure.
Bill, the dead, Washingtonians, are there still a couple dead ones that are left up? And I'm just
Yes.
wondering about time frame of
3.
3.
Yeah, they're up front,
Right, Keith?
correct.
Do you have anything to report?
The sidewalk repairs, we got bids, we had 2 bids. One from the vendor we used quite a bit, another one from a vendor that I used in another community, CMK. The low bidder was Infinity at the $8,005. CMK, they're really bad about giving me unit prices. When they're low, I pound on them to get the units, but they weren't low, so I didn't bother to go back to them. Typically, Infinity and the A and J are really, really close in their numbers, so I did go back to look at their units, and they are pretty much where they've been. And I did reach out to A and J, and they're just swamped, so I only got the 2 bids, and my recommendation would be to go with Infinity.
Could you speak up, please, Rick?
Sure.
Do you want a copy?
Okay.
No, I just need to hear him.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sidewalks more than anybody else.
And that did add in the areas that we talked about.
Okay, great, thank you. That's what I was actually gonna ask, that area and that shaded area of Veneto and Pissarro. Just when people wear sunglasses, it's a little bit of a trip hazard for folks, but okay, as long as that's been included in.
When I go through, if I regrind like more than twice, it's time to replace because it's just
Okay.
getting, there's not enough left there. And I know some of the areas get golf carts or motorized vehicles driving. And so I just, and also it's a lot more easier to transition.
And then in that area, are you gonna grind down the roots that are underneath there? Because that has to be from the oak trees, right?
Yeah, whenever I do that, if you look at the bottom, I tell them what to grind up.
Okay,
And
okay,
then
great.
I also tell them to, if we've taken slabs out, to cut through the roots.
perfect,
I
thank you.
always tell them to.
How often do we get an inspection of the sidewalks?
I do it at least once a year. Now, Keith gets some people calling. When the weather changes drastically, sometimes that's when you'll see the sidewalks moving. But I do it the entire community once per year, and then there's times that Keith will call me up.
I'm sorry, does this also include the Padova sidewalk? Where the drain is at? It's spray painted right now, right at the corner of Veneto and Pissarro. We had it spray painted. The drain, because the sidewalk sunk, the drain is lifting up.
Oh, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yes.
All right, great, thanks.
Yeah, what happened there was a massive break, the irrigation 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Oh, gotcha.
And it was
right.
deep, really deep.
I remember that, yes.
And so over time, it's settled
Gotcha.
somewhat, so yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just thinking, I was walking, I called Keith, I was walking by the bathrooms on Veneto, right up here. And the sidewalks were so bad to the point that they were not just broken, they were actually moving when you walked on them, and they were really vector trip hazard. Obviously, it took a long time to get to that point. I think we should come up, I don't know, maybe we can get a group of residents to enlist them to do sidewalk ambassadors, to go through, but as they take their walks, to do something a little bit more often, because we want to eliminate people from getting hurt.
We, when I walk the neighborhood, and we find something, I usually report it to Keith and give him a heads up on it, because like Jill said, we are out
Right.
miles on miles, yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
out
yeah.
a good port too.
You know, we've
because,
also, in past newsletters, we've encouraged people, we can do it
Okay,
again,
that's-
to, if they see something, let Keith
Okay.
know.
And another thing along that lines is I'm not here, but, when I come for the meetings and then maybe a few other times, so residents are here always. And one of the things that is difficult for me to see is when I need a sidewalk flume. That's when the sidewalk with the grass that we have kind of grows up high and creates the dam. And when it rains, so we have to come back in and we cut a little, the 8-inch wide between the sidewalk and the curb, so we could drain those. And those are when the residents see that, because when I come out, sometimes it's not visible. If there's stains, I could see, but a lot of people keep their sidewalks nice and clean, and I can't see that kind of of stuff. So we welcome residents to reach out to Keith, and we'll write it up.
Great. So you need a motion then?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And this is for Rick's recommendation for Infinity for $8,500?
Yes, that is correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Rick, are you gonna handle the contract or do you want me to?
I'll clean it up what I can. I'll send it to Andy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, again, Rick, please, if you could send these in advance by email so we can keep
Yeah,
visual records of bids.
the package went out and the bids were due Friday, so I
Got it, okay.
got it.
All right.
Okay. The signage repairs, we talked about that at the last meeting, and I think you all got the package. We did take out a lot of the crosswalk signs. Those bids are due this Friday, so I will forward you the bid tabs when I get them. I did send out the roadway lifespan maps. And again, when I go through my annual, I look at that. Most of your roads that had a longer remaining life stayed the same. Some of the ones that were, 4 to 6, 2 to 4, some of those did drop from last cycle to this one. And again, what I see is once they start to stress, sometimes they go a little bit faster. So when I'm out here, I do my best guesstimate on what's left, but sometimes they do tend to drop once they get a little older. None of them are in the 0 to 2, and most of the ones that were in 2 to 4 stayed. And I had this circle here, and I had like 2 other cul-de-sacs that they added to the 2 to 4. Now that's what I write up. You as the board, if you want to be more aggressive than I do, I know some boards like to have a little higher standard than what I would tolerate, which is your call. If the base is failing, I'll definitely point that out immediately. But sometimes some boards, I could put up with a little, patch a pothole here or there. But anyway, that's what I do. I'm trying to be as conscientious with your money as I can.
Rick, what's your current take on how effective the reclamite process was?
I'm happy with it. We had another community, we did that too. And I had a place where I had marked out 100-foot section. It was coming to a stop sign, and that road failed. And the asphalt was slow. The bond between the asphalt and the base had failed, so it was sliding. And when they were out there, they said, well, I'm not gonna just skip this spot, so they sprayed that. It bonded that together so well. I was so impressed with how that worked. So, that product works, and it's a fraction of the cost, but there's a lot of headaches that comes with the reclamite. But I think it does a good job. I mean, they say that it penetrates up to 3/8 of the inch, and I believe it does.
Well, I was comparing this to the last one, and I think I sent you a note, but it looked like there was about a 2-year change. And it's a year later, and some of these moved out, so I was kind of looking at averages of, it looks like maybe we gained a couple of years so far.
For the roads that were in better condition,
Yeah.
those all stayed the same. It was the ones from the 4 to 6 and down were the ones that, some of them dropped down.
Okay.
And again, this is utilized for you guys to budget long-term.
Question for you, Rick. So I'm looking at, I guess there's 4, not counting the River Club Circle, there's 4 cul-de-sacs that have fairly short life left, and some of them are connected to other roads that are short-ish, 4 to 6 as opposed to 2 to 4. So, and I think I've asked the foreman this question before, but if we're looking, for example, at, I think it's Mestry Court, that short one,
Yes.
and then the bottom of, I think it's Montaluna. If you have a fairly small area relative to the Venetian as a whole, if we're gonna do the cul-de-sac, it seems to me it makes sense for budgeting purposes
It
to do
does.
the little shorties, doesn't it?
does. It does.
Okay,
Yes, I mean, cul-de-sacs they take the most of use.
yes,
Because you've got those garbage trucks coming around there and
landscape.
pushing and sliding. So cul-de-sacs fail the fastest, but exactly what you're saying is what I would probably recommend.
So maybe like combining the yellows and the oranges or something like
So then
that.
that means, yeah, I'm looking at your map, Joe. So then if we did like the Montaluna cul-de-sac along with the Mestry Court cul-de-sac,
Bigger than that.
oh, that's much
Oh,
better. Thank you
thank you.
so much.
We're gonna need the
Would
big
you
one.
do that stretch on Padova then to the Montaluna? Or would you go all the way up to the Mestry Place cul-de-sac as well? So like
Yes.
you do the 3 cul-de-sacs and then Padova basically to where the creek crosses. And then there's a group here, right, on is that Cipriani? Or no, it's Savona, that's Savona, and then head down Portofino.
Right.
Okay,
And that's, like I said, that's probably maybe 2 years out.
okay.
If you want it, you can have it.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I just have a quick, actually, to Portofino. I remember sitting in the audience last year, whatever, and you were always telling us how you wanted to do the manhole covers that were raised up on Portofino, and every month we couldn't get the guy, he couldn't do this, we couldn't get material, couldn't get there's a whole lot of issues going on, and then they repaved Portofino, but they did Portofino from Sorrow to the club, but didn't do the other side to, going to the right. And there's like 2 manhole covers there that were really bad. Why didn't those get done? Well, recommended to get done at the time. And also there's a couple on Sorrow that are also really, really bad. And, that gets a good amount of traffic. Addressed. I mean, it might have been a board decision that I missed. When
It was, because we picked the worst ones, I think, if I remember correctly, the ones that made people's teeth chatter. And so,
there's the other 2 up at Portofino were
yeah.
they're just as bad
And
on the other side.
can we do the manhole cover repair without doing the whole street?
Doesn't make
And
sense.
I think that was the other part of the
Yeah.
question is budget and reserves,
Yeah.
we couldn't really
Yeah.
do the whole thing.
Well,
You can do it, it's
But
just
it's
hard to get people
very
to come.
complicated.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we have the people here to do that, that's what I'm saying, when the people were here doing the work on Portofino, why not just turn right and go 20 feet and just address that one manhole, the 2 manhole covers that were just right there, we had equipment and men and materials, and we just blew an opportunity to now get them back in, we're now back to, do you want to come in and just do that little bit? That was my question.
Yeah, I
just
mean,
don't
if
understand.
we're gonna look to do the parking lot, we could definitely add on when they come out, because that's probably gonna be the next thing that we do.
Okay.
So, but yeah, to answer that, if the manholes were lower, way easier to fix them, because you've got the ring risers you could put in. But if they're higher, then the best way is just kind of ramp it around it, go about 10 feet all the way around, so.
And we talked about doing that.
Yes.
We ended up never being able to get somebody to come.
Couldn't get
do
them
it.
out here, so we ended up, we overlaid that area.
And speaking of the parking lot, you've got to come back to us with somebody just to do striping separately, because the cheaper person had the most expensive striping, and if he was willing to do it without the striping and a separate.
I've reached out to 2 vendors, waiting to hear back from them. I know their prices are going to be better. I know they are.
Yeah, because we need to get that scheduled.
And then, on the Publix, the entrance, I did reach out to the design engineer that they're utilizing. I reached out to her to try to get her to change those plans now.
Great,
We
thank you.
want them to change them now, and not wait till they do the roadway or whatever. I said, if possible, let's get that revision in the works and get it now. So I'll continue to push her.
Can you send that along as soon as you get a confirmation from her? Just so we know that it's been changed? Thank you.
Yeah, that's Bobby with A&M Engineering.
Okay,
And what I sent her was just showing how we wanted to stripe
okay, great.
the way that, we talked about, instead of
Right.
we're just gonna come right across there.
Right.
And I
Okay.
explained it well.
I was looking at that, and I understand conceptually that makes sense, but I think that makes it more difficult, because now people who are going straight and left are gonna have the hardest time getting out of here. And if anybody needs to make a left, I mean, that's gonna get backed up a lot more than if you did it on the right-hand side, because these people making right-hand turn could just.
Yeah, but they're gonna be backed up behind people getting across.
I think
Right.
it's-
Two lanes backed up.
yeah,
Right,
it's
so you're gonna
gonna-
have two lanes backed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, there's no good solution to it.
No.
And, yeah,
Except not them.
I mean, see,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not building it. I mean, my thought was, let's keep the traffic flowing. If you've got a lane that you can keep the traffic flowing.
That's,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, great.
And then the last thing I had is those pond bank repairs, and then the other two areas, they're on schedule to start approximately February the 10th. And once they get closer, I'll work with Keith so we could get the notice out to everybody.
So, and then that work, Rick, do I understand correctly that we all were sort of good until the next inspection period? I'm just thinking about budget again.
Yes, now, there's probably about 8 or 9 swift mud permits through this community. And they're required to do a resubmittal every 5 years. Now, all your major outfalls, I look at annually. But I don't look at all the different structures in each of the ponds, except at that time, or unless Keith's got somebody to say, hey, can you come to look at that? So that's when I kind of look at that. But yeah, and I'm not sure when the next cycle is, but they're kind of spread out, because this community had it was probably about 8 or 9 phases to this community. So
Right.
each phase was another swift mud
Well, that
permit.
makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
If you ever want the 11 by 17s, I could print them in my office. I don't have to send them out. Because, my eyes aren't young as they were.
Thanks, Rick.
I actually think there's some little This way, get rid of what this.
Get rid of the word.
Yeah, on the computer, you can zoom in and
No,
really.
no, I've got to let something be printed, even that, I get rid of all the extraneous stuff and just.
All right.
Thank you.
Andy, do you have anything to report?
Just a couple of things. I emailed the board in between meetings about the application of the access funds from the revenue account. My review, as I think I had mentioned before, of the indenture was thought it needed to go to prepaid bonds rather than go to your general fund. I did reach out to your bond counsel, Warren Bloom, and did a quick little memo that I forwarded to the board. He confirmed what I had said. So while you can't use it for your general fund, which I know is something that you might have liked to have done, the money's not gone. It's going to go to prepaid bonds. So it's still good news. It's just not the good news you wanted, I'll say. I'm glad to try and answer any questions on that issue first.
Couple. Well, I guess my first question is, how did we find out about it? Like, what was it that triggered the finding
Well,
out about it?
this was brought to our attention, to her credit, by Kayla from Rosetta Finance.
Oh, okay.
And Kayla brought this to, the attention of Belinda in this district and a couple of other districts that I work with Belinda on. And, here, because I asked the question, where'd the money come from, you know?
Yeah,
It was when we refinanced, there was some excess in the revenue account, so there was some money then. And then it got built upon with some interest earnings, people paying their taxes later, things along those lines. And so the money had built up, and so then, to her credit, Kayla raised her hand and said, hey, we've got some extra money here, how are we going to deal with it? So
okay.
that's how it all started.
But it's all completely, is that, was it on our balance sheet or was it off our balance sheet?
That I don't know the answer
Oh,
to.
okay.
I don't think you would see it on
You
your
wouldn't
balance
see on the
sheet.
balance sheet. Okay, yeah, I was
Interesting.
just
Okay.
curious, yeah. You know me, I always have to ask questions. So I was looking through the attorney's opinion.
Yes.
So I see, it says, you know, we can apply that, we can use the funds, can be applied to operating and administrative costs only if the following are paid or funded. But when I think of the word funded, I think of an annual funding. So I wondered if that was an avenue that would.
No, I think that we're stuck in this bucket here.
Mhm.
I mean, I will tell you that, as I said, there were 3 districts that we
Right.
took a look at.
Okay.
Paseo, Venetian, and Greyhawk Landing.
Okay.
And Paseo and Venetian had very similar language in their supplemental indenture.
Mhm.
Everybody's master indenture sort of looked the same, which led us to believe that we could potentially do this. But then when you look at the supplemental indenture, which takes precedence over the master, here and in Paseo, the bond council had drafted them so that the money went to prepayments. I will tell you that in Greyhawk Landing, that was not the case. They were able to put the money in their general
So
fund.
if we ever do this again, we need to draft it differently.
Potentially, yeah.
So the prepayment, can you explain that a little bit? Like, how is it going to apply to, for example, budget this year?
It's
When
not gonna affect your budget.
it doesn't
I think
affect
it's-
anything?
It's
Okay.
gonna just make your bonds get paid down quicker. You're
Okay,
still gonna
that makes
have,
sense.
and again, we're in this bucket over here as opposed to general fund, we're in.
Understood.
bond
Okay,
land.
it's not an
So
operating
it's-
anyway, so it doesn't. affect-
Right, if
yeah,
you've got your
yeah,
P and I already set
Got it.
aside, your P and I, principal and interest payments are gonna stay
Got it.
static.
Anyway, this just, it goes
You're
piled.
gonna make an extraordinary, what they call an extraordinary redemption, and you're gonna have less, you're gonna pay your bonds off earlier.
It's like paying your mortgage, paying a little extra on your mortgage.
prepayment.
every-
Understood, completely
Yeah.
understood.
We'll all be doing it.
Yeah.
Well, so, but
Speak for yourself.
here's the question, though. How does it affect one of, I'm one of 8 people who paid off the bonds on their house? It doesn't affect us at all.
Doesn't affect you at all.
Okay. But it would affect the payment schedule, so we're gonna have a different payment schedule.
No, it doesn't. Just like
No.
your mortgage, your payment schedule stays the same.
Your P
You
and I
just pay it
stays
off
the
in
same.
20 years instead of 30.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is the duration that it takes to pay it off is gonna change.
Correct.
Just the
And where can we see that?
I'm sure they can run a model or something from
I
Rosetta.
think it'd be a good.
I would love to
It's
see
10,
that.
20 years out.
Is it that far
It's
out?
nine-
Yeah.
It's 19 years, it's 19, how do
We
we
just-
do this?
So,
It's
yeah.
like, nine- it's
We
like,
just
nine-
refunded.
it's like 18 to 19 years out,
Exactly.
so,
Okay, it's 20 years.
and it's, I think it's,
When did we
Quickly.
refund, 2022?
Yes, now 2043.
Yeah.
yeah, so it was like 19 years from what Belinda said, and yeah.
We might not be dead, but we probably won't be on the board.
Yeah.
So I have another
That's a
question.
better way of putting it.
Yeah. That includes interest earned. You can't remove the interest earned from that fund, or, no? So
No.
it's everything,
Everything that gets, the excess that's getting built up there is gonna go towards prepayments. So like we said, it's not that you're losing it, it's gone or something like that. You're getting the benefit of it. You just can't move it over to your general.
so will Finance and Reserve Committee look at what we're earning in interest versus what the interest cost on the bond is and decide when to do the prepay? Does that make sense to you? Like
Yeah,
if
that's
our
a good
interest
point.
earnings,
Yeah.
if the interest earnings are 4%,
Right.
and we're only paying 3% on the bonds, will you keep it in the fund to continue collecting interest and then pay it
I
prepaid
don't think we
later?
can, Andy, is that?
You can prepay anytime,
I
can't you?
don't know that you have that choice.
But you have to prepay right away.
You have to prepay on, there's certain timing of when you can, or when
So-
you're supposed to do it.
If this hadn't been discovered, it would still continue earning interest. Okay.
Wow.
Hmm.
Careful what you look for, right?
Fascinating.
Okay,
So
thank you.
that's the news on that.
Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to report back on was, Mr. Goodman had raised the issue that in having some previous discussions about the Swift mud permitting issues with the irrigation water at the golf course. So we took a look, actually my law partner, David Jackson, who was involved in the whole structuring of it way back when, took a look, and yes, we are no longer on the permit. We do not think, at least initially, don't think it was anything nefarious. It looks like when there was a request to take WCI, looks like the way it came about was that Heritage said, hey, we're the new kid in town, make us on the permit, that they took off WCI and us by mistake, and should have just taken off WCI and put Heritage in their place. So that being said, we need to jump back on the permit, but what you also learned is true, that they have missed some reporting.
Yeah.
So
More reporting.
we don't want to jump back on that permit until we know that there aren't, until all of the problems are taken care of. We don't want to put ourselves back on that permit and find out, oh, now you have to pay 50% of a fine or something like that. So that is what David is working through right now with the Swift fund issue.
So he's gonna make sure that
He
they're,
wants everything up to snuff before we jump back on there.
And I reached out to the golf course manager and he had no idea. So he wasn't aware either.
which is safe to send, emails have been sent to some of those people, so there's some
He said he had no idea.
miscommunication on their end, okay.
So like I said, I don't think it was nefarious. I think they just made a mess of it. But before we jump back on, we want to make sure all's in good stead. So,
I think between all of the maintenance people, superintendents, they just kind of got, well, I only have to do this, and it never really got passed down exactly what was supposed to have been done, from when, what's his name was here, a kid from Britain. So,
Good question.
sure. So those are the only two items I had, but I'm glad to take any questions.
Did we ever hear back from Heritage regarding the hydraulic leak?
I never heard a word from the correspondence that I sent.
So what are we doing about that?
What's the question?
Is it-
The hydraulic leak that
That led into their yard or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought Rick said that there was,
Yeah.
he tested it and there was no damage.
Right,
And that it would fade. That's
right.
what Rick said.
And it is, I think it is fading.
It is
It
fading.
is.
I know, I look at it all the time.
I do
and
too.
think it's
Yeah.
fading.
I think it's fading and yeah, Rick did mention he did that like screwdriver.
It's
type stuff.
cosmetic.
Yeah,
that we should just have them maybe look at that again before we put it to bed, just to make sure.
Yeah, but I never
Okay,
received it.
all right.
Have who look at Rick?
Right, yeah, have, I'll email him when he, say, next time you're here, just do a quick stop over. Because if there's no issue, there's no issue, but if there's an issue, I just want to make sure we preserve our rights.
Sure.
That's a good point, Rick.
so, the only thing I wanted to mention was, we did that addendum to the pickleball sound management contract. Pickleball management guy came back and said, since we're not gonna be on site, blah, blah, blah. So he sent me an updated version that I'm gonna pass along to Andy, so he'll have to re-sign that. It just includes things like he's not gonna be on site, so there's no auto and some other.
Let me push back on a few things, like was just said, that I'm okay with potentially. I mean, like you said, why do I have to have automobile insurance if I'm not even coming on site? I'm like, okay, that's a good point. So I said, let us know what your comments are, what provisions you take issue with, and we'll work it out with them, so. As Cindy said, she just got that over the weekend or this morning or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
I
great.
have a quick, one of those oddball questions. I see we have somebody from the CA here. I was asked by the CA, they do things on site here, of course, all the time. One of the things they do is something called Shred Fest, which, is not cheap to put on. And they had been thinking about potentially charging a nominal amount of money, I'll describe it. But then I think we run into issues of, we have charges, et cetera here. Can they do that, or could we do something like a suggested donation? If I'm gonna show up with 5 bankers boxes of my old, pay stubs, you know, can they charge? Could they say, oh, it's gonna be $10? Are they allowed to do that?
So they're running this event with a truck in the parking lot or
Yes.
whatever. And, I don't see any reason, and they wanna charge $10 and
Yes.
the money goes to them.
Yes,
What are they doing for use of our facility? Are they filling out paperwork to rent it
No.
or?
no,
They just park the truck.
they park the truck,
The shredder.
but it costs, to have White Mountain or whoever comes in. So the two ways, that I think we thought they could be done were either, charge people $5 or whatever the nominal number was, or say
We're not,
suggested
CDD's not benefiting.
suggested donation, yeah, but I think there'd been an impression that a fee couldn't be imposed because we have a fee schedule for the River Club.
No, I mean, that's not our fee schedule, so that's not a problem.
Okay, fine, so they can do that, they can do what they choose to do.
My only issue would be, just, and it sounds like it's just covering their costs and the
Yes.
benefit of the community, all good stuff. But, there's that whole slippery slope argument of, are we allowing people to set up an event in the parking lot that they're now making money off of, in our River Club parking area?
Well, it's our own community
Well, we do the
association.
same we do the same thing right now with the food truck vendors. We're not getting anything and they're making
Again,
money
it's a
on that.
community, so it's for the community. So, yeah, that would be my only caveat.
Okay, we're good?
Okay,
All right, thank you.
sure.
Any other questions for Andy? Julie, do you have anything to report?
Okay, good morning, board. A couple different things. The first question is, well, thank you, Keith. There was a miscommunication about the room being set up. So I apologize for any inconvenience with that. They didn't realize we're gonna be doing the second meeting every month, so, but we will get that straight for the future, just so you know. The next thing is, for the reports, I don't know if, in the last meeting on the 13th, my understanding was, are we going to be doing like a financial report once a month? And do you want that, in the first meeting or the second meeting? We probably wouldn't have the financials till the second meeting. And Melissa's here, we need to just get some clarification on that for both of us, because now the two of us are really running this and just want to get the straight information. So I would think in the second meeting, it would have been today, but we would have the financials, because by the 13th of January, we didn't have them, wouldn't have them by the 10th of February. So I just want to have that clarification. At every meeting, we want to do a financial thing, or do we want it for every meeting on just those like previous 2 weeks, or what are your guys' thoughts?
It would be the meeting after the financials are available.
Okay,
Yeah, I think so.
And only once.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna do this every meeting?
No, just that summary one time.
Okay, got it. Okay, great, thank you. The next thing I wanted to bring up was, just to get some clarification with the communication for the team. So I do want people to know, it's so great that the board is enthusiastic, and we are very enthusiastic as well. And, most of the people, the staff here at the River Club are people pleasers. So they'll do whatever you ask them to do, but then they might forget to tell me about it, and they might need some support. Then if they need support, I have to schedule people. So I'm just asking if you can think about it when you're asking someone to do something or giving a suggestion, like the steps after that, because that would be quite helpful. We're moving forward. So I'm the interim GM. So that's what I'm requesting, because it's so much better for me to help them, make what you're asking happen, right? In a good way, in a methodical way, because sometimes people just want to do it, but they don't think of the consequences or what some of the other things that go along with it. So I'm asking the board, how can we do that? Could you remember, if you are just even walking by and you said, hey, they could tell me, tell Julie, I want to see this happen or whatever, or if you could text me or email me. Text is immediate, so that might be nice, but if you could just think of it in that way, only to be very respectful, but we want to do what you're asking us to do, but it's getting a little confusing, and I realize, Bernard was here, he's not here right now, so it's a little confusing for the team as well, so I'm trying to be cognizant of how to make them successful, if that makes sense,
Do you
so.
mind if I just share
Sure.
my story? Because I ended up, not surprisingly, I guess, creating a problem, well, not a problem, but I was musing about, what if we change this? And, I was just chatting with staff and they took that as, well, we need to get that done. And just because I was, and I think it can happen to anybody, where you just think, oh, we should do it. And I felt terrible because I think it created a whole lot of, well, Jill wants it done. It's like, no, I was just,
I
musing.
created it too.
But that's a problem.
I kind of created the same problem.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's
I'm
a
sorry.
problem. We, this board,
Yes.
all committee members should not be asking Vesta employees to do anything.
Right,
Anything.
right.
Any request should go through you in writing.
Right.
You decide the priorities,
Right.
and you may have other things that are counter to that you were planning on doing. We don't know. You're the management company.
Yes, sir.
You should be running it. So don't ask us to do this. Tell us to
Yes.
stop doing it, because we do it too much.
Okay, well, there we go.
You're Marty, you can do
Could
it.
you understand where we're coming from? We're in a
Absolutely.
precarious situation with not having Bernard being able to lead the team, me stepping in, so I'm asking the board please to recognize this.
Yes.
And thank you, Ken, for, bringing so long. That's lovely, but I just wanted to make sure, everyone understood why. And again, we want to do whatever you want, but it's a thing, and it needs to be a plan of action for us to do it successfully, right?
So I have a
I
question.
appreciate that. Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
question in regard to that, because Darlene had mentioned that, there's a lot of people that come in to visit you guys and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. My question for you is, what can the board do to help slow that down so you guys aren't constantly, running interference with residents because you've got other things going on? And I don't mean running interference in a negative way. I'm just saying, because you are people pleasers, what do we need to do to help the residents not do that so often so you guys can actually do your jobs?
Just support the cause, so we're gonna set up another email, because now with Melissa here, and we're in the process of interviewing people, so then she's learning the processes as well, and cleaning them all up, preparing for budget time as well, and she's gonna be training someone too, so we will do our part in terms of, we'll send out an email, we'll make sure people have our emails and our phone numbers for emergency. We have a sign on Bernard's door, we'll have another sign for the other door, like, hey, we're in a meeting, please call or email for support. So just to, I think, support the cause is the best way, because we just wanna make sure we're trying to get everything accomplished and also train the team and have the team accomplish what they need to accomplish as well. Yes, sir.
I had mentioned to Bernard two things that would possibly help. Maybe just have a couple hours a day, the sign on the door, resident forum open, certain hours, and or by appointment as opposed to just drop in. Because I know when you're in the middle of doing something, especially in Melissa with financials, you're in the middle of a spreadsheet, next thing you know, somebody comes to ask you a question, it's hard to get back into where you were. That might be one option, again, your choice.
So, but if you think about it, shouldn't it be that, Vesta should not take direction from the residents, they should take direction from the board. So
Well,
shouldn't it,
I'm not.
can I just finish my little thought? Shouldn't it be that the residents, yes, they can certainly make suggestions to Vesta, but shouldn't they go through either the liaison, which is Jill, and talk to Jill, or come to social and dining and make their public comments, or come here and make public comments? Certainly giving suggestions, but not telling Vesta I think there's a fine line in this community, and I think we have a lot of it, and that everybody tells Vesta what to do. And I think they get lost in who are we supposed to listen to? And I think it needs to be clear that only the board can direct Vesta in what they do. Suggestions are wonderful. And I think that's going to take everybody being on the same page. And, if someone has something that they want changed, maybe you guys need to say, our liaison is Jill. You should probably talk to Jill. Or if you want to go to social dining and make public comments, that's fine. I just think that there has to be a better way rather
Well,
than,
there's that
because 2
listening
hours a
post,
day
yeah.
of a resident dialogue is going to take a ton of their time that they need to be doing other things. That's my comment.
Well, remember we have that, I don't recall whether I showed you this, Julie, or not, but we are gonna have that listening post option that is being set up for us by Club Insights that we can put on the splash page. So
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
says, well, we need another bartender on fish fry night or something, if people know, maybe what we need to do is again, a newsletter approach or something else. Maybe when listening post is launched, it's an opportunity. I can work with you to
That's
do a
right,
thing
for
with that,
feedback.
and yes.
And they'll
that way
probably feel better
People feel
about
like
that
if they
as
have to
well.
do something right away, they can just go on and.
And we'll make sure someone's assigned
Yeah.
to that, in terms of response and everything.
And the
Thank
other,
you.
and the other thing,
Um,
just real fast, the other thing I said to Bernard was, I send out emails on weekends, as you can tell, as you know. Because and the biggest thing is, I don't know who to reach out to, because I don't know who's here any specific day. So I don't know the schedules. Maybe it's best if we get the manager on duty here has a cell phone. So whoever is the manager on duty that particular day has a cell phone. So if I want to come, if there's somebody calls and has an issue or complaint, or I need to talk to somebody, I don't know, am I reaching out to you, Melissa, Therese, Josh, June, I don't know who to reach out to. So maybe
Okay.
whoever is in charge that day has the phone. When they leave, it goes to the next person, or
And are you okay if that's just given to the board? So we can send a schedule and say, hey, this is the
Yes.
manager on duty, okay?
Yeah.
Because I think that would be smart
That's
than everyone else.
But I
I,
assume unless it's an emergency, you shouldn't be reaching out to them anyway.
yeah, but there are times that, things happen, you want to speak to them, so it's.
Send them an email.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
just,
but-
it just disrupts their whole schedule and what they're doing.
No, but I'm saying that an email, some things are emailable, but I don't, again, who may email? Am I emailing Julie, Melissa? I
The
don't know.
general manager, the only employee that reports to the board is the general manager. Every other Vestar employee has no relationship to the board.
well, what we'll do is, where, many organizations have the, tree and chain of command. If for some reason you can't reach me immediately, go to this person, because I want you guys to feel the 5 people here, and obviously those guys, but if there's something that, is that urgent, that you are able to get a response right away. Because my boss even will take any call at any time, so, I will make sure we have a chain of command and like a phone tree, so we're good with that, okay? We have not, I haven't gone through it yet, but there was an issue, let's see, on the, I think it might have been the 17th of January. Anyway, what it boiled down to is we had to do a violation letter. So we kind of find out that I've been helping here for 3 years. I've never seen us do one here before. However, so it brought it to my attention that we really don't have a good SOP in how it should work and what the parameters should be. My other communities, typically, we send an incident report to the district manager, and the district manager sends a violation letter on behalf of the CDD. I understand here in the declaration, it says the manager does it, which I'm more than happy to do it. But besides doing a violation letter, usually there's parameters that go with it. So if this is your first violation, X, your second violation, and that's all we're gonna ask for. So in the next week or 2, I'll send you guys and I just don't know how to do it. Do I send it to you, Andy, and you advise on how the parameters should go, or what are your thoughts?
If you want to send a draft to me, I'd be glad to take a look at it.
And,
and work
excuse
it out.
me, I thought we had something like
Just
that.
intense.
We can.
Well, then I'll send you an email.
This
You
is
can
not the
send it.
first time this has happened.
Right.
We have sent letters in the past. Vesta has sent letters in the past.
Okay.
I know that for a fact. If you don't have access to that, that's
Yes, sir.
great. And if you want to put together a draft to use in the future, I'd be glad to help you with it, because I'm glad you did it, and thank you for handling it, but there were some issues with the letter that did go out.
Yeah, and we apologize. We
That's
did it based on other one, but I understand. But if there were past ones, I just couldn't find one. So I'll send you an email if we can access
I'd
that,
be
just
glad
to
to-
make
We're
sure.
glad to work with you on a template that you
Yeah,
can
we
use.
do.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then we'll go back to the board and you could privately answer me on, do you want the community to understand the knowledge or just that we have it in the rules? That's okay, you'll have to decide on how that'll go.
Well, it's in the rules, and everybody has a copy of the rules, they're on the website, they need to live by them, and a lot of it's common sense anyway.
Right.
So, I'll be glad to work through a letter with you that we
Okay.
can send.
Thank you,
We'll
Andy.
run it by Jill as the liaison.
Okay, so just moving forward, we absolutely are moving forward, so I don't want anyone to think we're, at a standstill or anything, we're moving forward. Today, the pizza oven's getting installed. I would ask that everyone have patience for a minute. We've gotta, price stuff, we have to have a methodical way this is gonna go. But everyone's excited, we're excited as well, but we absolutely, it'll be happening in the next couple weeks. Just need to get it together. So the season's moving forward, we had a success last week, big success with Burger Night. Friday night with the fish fry, we did over 200 people. Yesterday, we definitely had over 125 people. So I think we're really getting, a great momentum with a lot of new people coming to, a lot of new faces. It is important for you to know for events, we are following minimums. If we don't meet the minimum, we're canceling the event or postponing. So the Hard Rock thing wasn't that people weren't that interested, we weren't able to do it, not saying we might not do it in the future, but just, we want to try different things and bring different things to the community. The murder mystery dinner, we put it out and one day later we had 85 people, which is kind of big for
Wow.
never doing something, but it is a professional company, so we do want people to know the things we're doing, we're pricing them accordingly, and if there's not interest, then we will not do them. So in case anyone comes back and that, it would be one-off, so it wouldn't be a lot, right? So if we have to cancel it, that means we didn't get a lot of take on it. So for, just to give you guys this knowledge so you're aware, we have moved almost everything. As of tomorrow will be the next date we finish, but from the storage up top, that no one will go to that. We will not store anything for the club there, right? It'll only be a vendor that has to go there for either air conditioning, electrical. So we will not use a lift again. As soon as the insurance company sends me a written letter, we will be removing that piece of equipment. Vendors will be responsible to access the upstairs for electrical or air conditioning on their own accord. And that's part of what their insurance is as well. So is there anything that we would?
Sounds good, but we do need to, the lift that when it's time to get rid of, we have to surplus it. So when do you think that will be?
For what is it?
Well, the lift, the scissor lift, when do you think you will be finally?
You talking equipment or?
Well, the piece of equipment?
Yes.
Well, they already told me they're done with it, but I said I need it in writing because I don't want it, I don't want to move it. We're gonna try and sell it back.
What's it worth? Any
What,
ideas?
it's parts or scrap. I don't know.
So then why don't we just do this today, board? If we could just get a motion to surplus the scissor lift, and then Julie will dispose of it once she has the proper.
Yes,
Second.
is that, okay.
That we can do what
You're
you need to do.
We gotta vote on it.
So, so then we have.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes,
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Okay,
Okay, so we have, two storage units and we'll have the information for that on record so everyone, people will know. It's on record somewhere. Okay, just to give you a heads up, we have a new pool company, as of January 1st. However, the gentleman has been servicing our pools since December. So we are aware of him. He's a person that does a lot of local pools in the community. He's been absolutely great educating us and helping us and going through everything. And we'd like to thank, I don't think he's in here, but Tim Carr has been working with us to make sure, some of the repairs that need to be done. So there were some repairs that needed to be done that are part of reserve because of their life and the amount of money. And then some were just regular maintenance. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that in case you would see it on anywhere.
Okay. Julie, is he gonna be charging the same amount that Brightwater did, or will it be different, do you know?
It's slightly higher,
Right.
and he explained to me why, I
Yeah,
have
'cause
it written
he does
down.
mine too.
It is slightly higher, but, you know, I think from a service perspective, and he is much more, accessible,
Yeah.
answering, you know, and I've quizzed him on everything. If there's a
Yeah.
hurricane, when will you come? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so we really are trying to make sure that the pools, because once the pools go down, it's very difficult to bring them back up to speed. So we're absolutely addressing everything with the spa and the pools, both pools. Okay, okay, so the screens for the, oh, sorry,
No, just a quick question. Do we have the breakout of what is reserves versus what's gonna?
I do.
You do?
I
Okay,
can show it to you,
great, thank
no
you.
problem. Yeah, if you come after.
Okay,
Okay, and then the screens for the pickleball are up. They ran out of the connectors, so we had to get some more. So they're coming in tomorrow, so I'm hoping that will happen on Thursday. So that's what I'm talking about on how we need to get stuff done. As you can tell when you're driving in, a couple that are on facing the parking lot, to me, they're not flat, they're a little, you know, wonky. So I asked them to please fix that, and they knew that that was something that had to be fixed as well. So we still have to put up 3 screens and then fix that. In conjunction with that, we're working on a better hurricane plan, so we have a better plan of action, and that I'm hoping to present to you guys, or just bring, you know, send it to you guys, for your observation, within the next 30 days. So we are doing that. So I think that's everything I have at the moment.
I have a question. So did you buy additional soundproofing screens for the pickleball courts?
No, we didn't, we put everything up that we own.
But now there's 3 sideways in the front. I didn't think we had enough to go all the way around.
They're missing
before.
3.
Oh, they are still
They,
missing.
yeah, there's
3.
still 3 they have to put up,
Yeah.
but those ones right in the front, like 2 of them look great, and then 2 of them are like not flat.
Yeah.
They're not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they said, yes, thanks for noticing. Yeah, so they,
so I've got 2 things.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for everything that you did for that incident.
Yes.
Augusta did an amazing job.
Yes.
And I appreciate all the effort that you guys put into it.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that. The other thing is, I know that you and I had talked about this, but I just kind of want to bring it up onto the table. We have to talk about the Jonas implementation.
yes.
So do you have any thoughts on that rolling out and the timing of that? I know you and I had talked based on, you know, the resources being switched over to someone else, the work being switched over to someone else. It might be worth our time to maybe delay it 2 weeks or maybe push it out to March 1st instead of February 1st.
And thank you for the question, Cindy. What I'm gonna say is I'm gonna acquiesce to you and your recommendation when you meet with our gentleman that.
Gotcha.
It's not the webmaster, but now I found
I
out
know,
that
yeah,
it's a better title
okay,
than
the dude.
webmaster. But the guy that does all of it for our region here,
Uh-huh.
and my goal is he's gonna come here on Thursday. And
Yes.
when you meet with him directly and he sees what we have as well. Now Stephanie is very well on it, but he sees
Yes.
what he has. And then I did talk to him about the training,
Uh-huh.
and he told me about the filming, the YouTube, you know, and he's done it in very, very large communities, and actually 2 of them are 55 and over communities. So he has some techniques working with that kind of community to get that message across.
Okay.
So I would ask when you meet with him, and that's one of the goals, that you will give your recommendation as well, and then you guys will talk, you know, website person to website person on what he thinks the best is. But I agree that maybe we might have to push it about 2 weeks.
Okay.
We would like to keep on point, but we definitely want to have the training thing, because his recommendation, as I told you, live training isn't necessarily the most effective.
Right.
It's great when you have the films and people can go, you know, step by step on that. So I would acquiesce to when you meet with him and you guys determine what would be the best success.
Okay.
Okay, if
That's
that
right.
works.
But I think right now we're basically saying that February 1st is off the table because that's like a week from, that's like this Saturday. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of the fact that that target date, we're gonna push it out, because I agree with you, right?
Yeah, we have to make
You
sure
can do it
it's.
right, you can do it
It's like
fast.
the pizza.
Or you can do it
can't
cheap.
just throw the pizza out there. But what we'll do is, as of Thursday, at the, you
Okay.
guys will say, hey, blank, and then we'll put the word out so people can start understanding what to look for.
Perfect,
They'll
thank you.
look for this training online, They can come here and do the training online. We can do it hands-on as well. You know, we realize we have to be, you know, very helpful with people. We want them to be successful with, doing everything that they need to do.
Okay, great. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question, and this is in context of the conversation we just had about Vesta only takes direction from the board. How, and I'm sure Tim Carr has a lot of knowledge about the pool, but how does that fit into what we just talked about? That Tim is helping give direction on the pool and the equipment? I'm asking the board.
Well, that's a
I
good
just
question.
want to be clear on what it is we're doing here and how this works, because we're kind of doing this.
Yes, that is true.
So,
Well, and I was just being honest, but
oh, no,
yeah,
I
mean, I just
appreciate
don't, I want
and I'm
people
not
to
saying
know.
I'm against him doing it, I'm just saying, how does this make sense? And I think we need to,
What does he do?
well, he's actually working with the pool guy to give direction on what needs to be replaced and what needs to be done.
Well, we've shown Tim Carr, he has helped us, you know, we've shown him, like, this is what, this gentleman, you know, yes, we've shown.
As a committee
Why wouldn't
member,
our own maintenance person do that?
that's what I'm trying to.
Well, he,
figure out.
no, I mean, we're in charge of it, but, you know, Juan is not a pool expert, I mean, and because I got one other quote, meaning another person came in, analyzed it and said, yes, I see, there was one thing only that was maybe like, you might not have to do that right now, but it was a very small item compared to the other stuff. So we did get a second quote. Juan doesn't have the expertise, and that's some of what the problem is. In the past, if this board remembers, maybe not every person on it, but many times Miles would be, and I, you know, I'm not bringing up his name, but that was the reality. Miles would be asked certain things, and he just wouldn't even, he doesn't have a clue, like, it doesn't have the experience nor the
I
expertise.
mean, you contracted with the pool guy to be your expert on the pool.
Right.
You got a second, and so how does, I'm just asking how he fits in. the
No,
fact
right,
that-
that is true, but we can absolutely kind of move from that, and
No,
move
no,
away.
I'm not asking you
Well,
for
I
an
mean-
explanation, I'm asking the board for
So
help on understanding this.
my opinion, Rich is the liaison. So then Tim should coordinate with Rich's,
Okay,
and
Yeah, I
then,
agree with you.
right? And then that way Rich would have the contact with you guys.
Okay.
have that coordination.
and we can do it like that,
I
like,
think
to
we're missing
me,
a step here.
I agree, yeah.
so we can do that, so we'll go to Rich, and Rich will confer with other people, we don't have to be in the middle of
I
that.
would just offer a little bit of context, and you probably know this, Rich, because I've worked with Tim quite a long time, because I was on facilities before I got on the board, that Tim has a lot of expertise in terms of putting out, especially putting out bids and bids and RFPs for complicated mechanical things, and I think that's how it got started, and he's provided a lot of help, because Juan is great at so many things, but he's still learning that part of the process. I mean, am I
Yeah,
understanding that?
But we could do it that way, go through Rich,
And
and
also-
Rich,
Well, I mean, we can do that too, but also, but what that does is just, rather than having Tim speak directly to the pool guy about situations, it's Tim speaking to, it's the pool guy speaking to me, to speak to Tim, to find out what's going on, to then come back to me, to speak to you, it's a telephone, and it's gonna get lost, because I mean, there's an issue I just found out that the pool gas lines don't have regulators on them. So whoever did the install of these
Wow.
on neither side, it's supposed to be two of them we don't have any. So, I mean, we're
well, that,
talking,
yeah, that's one of the things.
so,
But what if we just did the system a little different? We'll tell you, hey, Rich, this is what's going on, and you ask whoever you wanna ask.
That's-
We ask,
Just so that Tim's not giving directions.
no, Tim,
Right.
no, Tim
That's
should,
the part that.
no,
I
Tim
think
should not be
you're
giving
right.
direction.
Okay.
Tim was working with the pool guy to understand what was going
like
on,
advice.
and advice, and then for him to come back with proposals. So this was the proposals to then Julie, you know, these are the proposals, and he was not saying he was not telling the pool guy, do this. He was saying, I need a quote to get the value, you know, to put the regulators put on for Julie to then approve.
But what we
Because
can
it's
do
under a certain amount
to
for
just
Vesta.
kind of
Fine line.
make sure we're following the procedure for whatever
Understood.
element it is, we'll go through that
Yeah.
board member.
Yeah.
So for example, when it's a social,
I think it's safer for you as.
Yeah, no,
well.
we don't
So
have
that we
residents
you're
talking
absolutely
about
right.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. But this way, this is kind of, this conversation was like kind of moving forward, how can we do it? So thank you so much.
One should be involved, because otherwise how is he gonna learn?
One needs
No,
to learn.
absolutely, he's definitely involved.
What he's
Yeah.
learning.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks a lot.
Before we move on, does anybody need a break?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take a 10-minute break at 11:00 p.m.
Yes.
Filter
All right.
toxic.
Okay, so we're gonna get ready to go back on the record.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back on the record at 11:11 a.m. Keith, did you have anything to report?
Good morning, board. Just a few things. Yeah, Paul, we discussed earlier, palm trees will be coming out, the 30th on Thursday is what they rescheduled that for. Other thing that's happened over last week is, I'm getting hammered about the street, poles, lights down in the, and I wish there was more that I could do to get those removed, or they would have been removed. We make the phone calls, we're doing those things. We've called, the city of Venice, talked to Ed. I called last week, Ed wasn't in. His second was supposed to call me, didn't call me. I talked to Belinda, she has emailed the authority that's over FP&L and told them of the situation, and let's, what can be done here. This needs to get done. This is not good. I have people coming to my office, and I understand they're being upset, as I am, but it's getting, kind of brutal in my office sometimes, that I'm not doing my job, and I'm not, what am I doing? And so, I tell them, hey, call FP&L, call the city, start making some phone calls. If we raise our hand, maybe the squeaky wheel will start getting the voice, because they're tired of hearing us.
Well, I have a suggestion, because I emailed Ed, and over the weekend, because I know that you were getting, some flack, and anyway, Ed was able to do some checking with the Department of Public Works, and essentially, he's gonna he's gonna make a call and let us know where we are on the queue, but there are still a lot of lights out on the road. So a suggestion I have is maybe you and I can work together to put something together, just a short little note out to the community, something, saying, we know a lot of you are concerned, and here's the situation. And so that at least people know that it's being addressed from a lot of angles, and maybe that'll help take some of the heat out of the system. What do you think?
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
All right.
So I just have a quick question for you in regard to that. Are any of these lights, do they still have live wires on them?
Sure.
Okay, so, and that doesn't make it a priority at all? I mean, in terms of,
And we've brought that out
human being
on every
electrocuted or anything like that.
conversation we've had with them, all right?
okay,
And with the FP&L guy from Ed's office that he had called me, I said, well, these still got live wires. Yeah, well, you'll see when the trucks are there, you'll see them.
and we don't have any liability to that if somebody gets hurt on the property because of it?
We always have liability, but all of these steps that we're taking would help.
Okay.
Are you keeping track of?
Yes.
So that's.
We've got work order numbers.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying, but all the calls and stuff like that?
Like I said, we've got work order numbers from the city or from FP&L this long. All right, of every time we've called and those things.
Like they give you a new work order?
Yep.
And hey, Joe,
Yes.
when you do this correspondence, it might be beneficial to put a little line in there, like, don't take matters into your own hands. These are live wires.
Yeah.
Be patient.
They give you a different work order number every single, so doesn't that change the queue or?
I don't think so. I wouldn't think it would. I mean, we're still bringing up the same issue. And if the same issue is, the Venetian, all right, they ought to see that, we're having,
We had the same issue at Waterley. For whatever reason, they did come out the past couple of weeks and finally did it, but it took forever and ever
Yeah, but
calling.
I'm just concerned about that, I've never heard of that, the new work order number be given every single time.
I don't know. I think
POA, or
that's
not
our
the POA,
fault.
some of the HOA presidents, their managers. I had a new one in my office the other day, and he says he's still got properties north that have still power lines down. And so it's not just us, but
Right.
it's, it's still maddening no matter what the case is, so.
Well, I think we communicated. I think it's gonna take a little bit of the steam out of the system.
So the other
And
thing.
you can also provide Commissioner De La Rosa's email address
Okay.
as well, Jill. I'll send you a copy of the email that I sent, but, the Public Service Commission oversees Florida Power and Light.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did mention the concerns regarding the live wires, everything in this email, but
Okay.
if the residents want to write directly to Commissioner De La Rosa, I think that would help as well.
Okay, great, yep, thanks.
I think you should keep a copy of that blurb in your office, and when people come in and complain, you can hand it to them.
And if a
And that way
fire-
they have the information that they can make their own complaint.
I understand the complaints, and I agree with them, because every time I drive in here, I look at six pains in the butts that I'm trying to deal with, and it's, that would be a good idea too, but I think sending out to the community is also another
Absolutely.
avenue,
Yep.
and getting them on board to start raising the flags. LMP is going to be, they're meeting another sod person out here in the community, to get another bid for all the sod replacement. And so that's gonna be another huge undertaking, replacing all the areas that need to be done. So, there'll be complaints and there'll be so, it's on LMP.
Question for you.
Hmm?
Is the area on Pissarro by the Welcome Center on that parkway side, on the street side of the sidewalk, is that gonna be all sod at that point? Because they put down mulch
Mhm.
there and where the beds used to be.
I think that might belong to the golf course.
Not, from the sidewalk to the street? From the sidewalk to the street on Pissarro, there's that little small patch of grass /
Probably
beds.
Probably, I'll take a look.
Probably ours.
It's probably ours. Take a look at it. They
If
put
it's in the
crushed
roadway
mulch.
right away, it's probably ours.
Okay, yeah, it's right next to the road.
There's a tree stump there too.
There was a tree stump
It's been there
there.
for a long time.
So if that's not included in the sod, can we include that in the sod, please?
If it's dead. See, that's what they're removing is what they killed.
It's dead.
No, this is a tree
I think
stump
it's
that's been
dead
cut. The tree
Oh,
was cut.
yeah, we can get that
They never
removed.
removed
They
it.
never removed that tree.
We have a lot of them throughout and
Okay.
we're dealing with that one because of the FEMA thing and those things that.
So we can remove them now?
Yes, we should be able to remove the tree stumps now. So, let's see, we've got a lot of different things gonna be happening. We've got the RFID sticker, the River Club, access control, cards are gonna be being reissued. We're having some real good success with that. Ken will probably bring that up. Lots of people that are getting that done. Hasn't been too much of a hard thing at this point, all right? But when we get further into April and we get an app, all right? And people gotta learn to use that app, and they're also gonna be learning to use the Jonas thing. I see some potential, wash over there. I think that and I'll talk with Julie about that when that goes out to the community, that's happening, we have to really understand that is for reservations, for classes, not for access control to the pool, to the gym, to the front entrance. So there's two different apps that the community is gonna have to learn to use. So it's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve, and, we'll all get through it and better out, at the other end, we'll be better off. But that period is going to be interesting.
You're looking at mid-February?
I was thinking mid-February, and right now, we're only rolling out the website, right, Julie? So we're not gonna have an app on our phone for Jonas just yet.
This is the reservation system.
This is the
Yeah.
reservation
Yeah.
system. It's still gonna be web-based, not app-based.
Not app-based, right?
Correct. So I think with the tech wave being app-based, we can make that clear distinction. If you're on the
That's gonna
website,
be late March.
okay, yeah, so it'll be about 4 weeks later then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I just, potential bombs out there, so we just want to harm them, so we're good. All right. That's what I have right now.
Any questions for Keith?
Well, my own suggestion would be, that's really not a key thing per se, when we roll these things out, we should pick 15, 20 residents, roll it out to them as a beta test, make sure things are smooth, make sure the street numbers and whatever, people understand how to use it, get all different types of people in the community, and let's figure out, make sure the instructions make sense and clear and concise, what could be done better. to make sure when we were at the 1377.
No, we're just gonna put it out there and let people figure it out.
No instructions, no nothing.
I think you should
Okay, good.
use the volunteers, I've used a bunch of
Just
fresh
put Keith's
eyes.
name on it.
Yeah, you just put my name on it.
Well, I got a
Thanks,
bunch of.
Ken.
What are you able to replace the flag at front so we can just get that done?
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
That's really.
Yeah, it's about $100, I looked, it's about $100 to replace the flag. It's just got a little ratty and torn.
Oh, I've got 3 of them in my office.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
Okay.
I'll have it replaced today.
Just put it out there, please.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. A question, and it's really kind of for both you and Ken. So on the Mar-a-Lago wetland, and back, the 278,
278,
274.
yes. She loves it. I got an email. They're all
Yeah.
very happy.
Well, my question for you though, they put an alligator flag. Is that gonna work back there? It's alligator flag,
It's an
isn't it?
alligator flag.
It's an alligator flag.
It's a type of plant, but
Oh,
there's no other alligator flag back there. So I'm thinking to myself, here's my question. Are we gonna check on it and make sure it's gonna live?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And I'm sure that Miss,
Don't go there.
Yeah.
they'll let me know for sure too.
Resident.
Okay.
Yeah, a resident, she'll let me know
Okay.
for sure that it hasn't. So, yes, and when it comes to those water plants,
Because I scratched my head and I thought, oh.
I have to give that up to the pros that we're hiring to do it, so.
Okay.
Do they attract alligators?
Well, they hide alligators.
Ooh.
That's why they're called alligator flag. It flags where the alligators are. But it just
Nice.
looked awfully dry there for alligator flag, but what do I know? I'm not an alligator. That's all I have.
Any other questions for Keith?
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
So just as a reminder, supervisors, our next meeting is scheduled for February 10th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m., but you will have your workshop in the morning as well.
I'm sorry, Belinda, can we make that just a workshop? Is there any,
I mean, the whole meeting.
the whole meeting? And just do a,
Well, let's. we
I'm sorry,
decide-
go ahead.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we just
I'm sorry,
decide
Belinda.
today, just to make sure we get everything done that we need to get done.
No, you're fine. We will need a workshop agenda, so whatever workshop agenda items you have, please send them to us. You can send it to myself or to Amber. I've been working on the damage inventory for the RPA for Hurricane Milton, and I pretty much have it completed. I'll be sending it to the program delivery manager when I'm done for review. That's where I am currently with that RPA. We haven't heard anything back on the appeal. We did get bad news a few
On
minutes
another
ago
one.
on another one that was
Which was
denied for
very
another
similar,
district, very
so-
similar. So I'm hoping that that's not the case, but we'll see.
Doesn't look good, but.
I have processed all of the LMP invoices. We had to remove all of the prior invoices from the system and the new invoices with all of the GPS coordinates and all of the detail was added into the system. So those were the ones that I processed. And I finished all of that, actually on Friday, I completed that work. Other than that, I didn't have anything else. Any questions for me? Well, the financials are late, which I'm sure everybody's aware as to why. But we will, hopefully Vanessa will try to get, the statements out by Wednesday.
Great, thank you.
And then, Vesta is working on some audit prep work. Dan sent an email to Vanessa because, there was some request for information that had previously been sent to Ricardo, but since he's no longer with Vesta, Dan and the team, and I guess Vanessa is gonna take over and they're gonna, provide the information to the auditor. Any other questions? Okay. Moving on, supervisors, we now have item number 5A, which is the discussion and consideration of the proposals for landscape design for Laurel Road and the roundabouts. This is behind tab number 1 for your review. Cheryl, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Certainly. No, I'd like somebody else to take the lead. No, just kidding.
I'll do it.
Okay, so Landscape Committee had the opportunity to meet with both, we had two proposals. First, let me back up and say, we have two companies who made proposals on the Laurel Road, which is what we decided we wanted to start with, Laurel Road and Medici Berm. Those were Kimley Horn and Juniper. I was in touch with John Tober and talked to him at length. They are only able to bid on the roundabout when we get to that point. That's what was in there. they do not have the bandwidth per John to do the Laurel Road
Okay.
work, so he is out on that one. So that's why you have two here. So what we did for the committee is put together a list of kind of the issues, which is on the grid you have on the left, of what they thought was important to look at to compare the two. And then I summarized the committee's findings under Kimley-Horn and Juniper. So let me just point out the couple of differences. The presentations, there's only one presentation by Kimley-Horn. There will be two in-person presentations by Juniper. In the design area, Kimley-Horn agreed to two designs and one revision. Juniper is one design and two revisions. So that's kind of half a dozen of one, six of another, kind of the same thing. The big thing we had a long discussion with Kimley-Horn, and I had a follow-up discussion with Matt about, help me understand why this is not your the design proposal, why that is not what we can work from. He said, we don't give you all the information in the design proposal. You have to do the construction documents as well. So what I have for you, I said, you need to revise your proposal because there is much confusion. And I didn't get this in time to put it in the agenda, but I wanted to make sure you all had it. I said, everybody thinks your proposal at 11.6 is what we need to move forward on the Laurel Road project. And he said, no. He said, you need that, and then we give you all the information on size of plants and process and everything else in the construction documents, which come second. I said, well, how much are the construction documents? And he said, 10 to 15,000. And I said, you need to do a proposal for me that tells me exactly what this is. So if you go to the very back page of this, you will see the first two should look familiar. The site visits for 4, the schematic landscape design for 11.6, but the construction documents, which are integral, are additional 12.4. And then he included more hourly services to this. So, and I said to him, I said, so you're talking 30,000 plus for this project? He said, absolutely. So I wanted to make that clear to all of you because we were very confused. And that's why I had a follow-up call with him, because even landscape committee was like, wow, we don't understand the process. So essentially, the construction documents include the details, the plant sizes, the timing, the irrigation, and would also be a punch list, sorry, that's spelled wrong, post-install. But we would not be able to move forward with design only the way they construct this. And he said to me, which is my comment under other comments, he said, Kimley-Horn is a national premier engineering, planning, design, and architecture consultant for public and private projects. And if you look at their bandwidth, they do a lot of big projects that include engineering work on big things like fountains and parks and things like that. When you look at Juniper and you review everything that they've done, they're in 5 states. They're the largest landscape design, install, maintenance firm in Florida. They are focused on building up communities. And they also own a 135-acre farm where they do their plant harvesting. So I just wanted to make that clear. So the overall cost for these, total cost for Juniper, for Kimley-Horn would be about 30,000, and for Juniper would be 3,500. And then I included in the documents you have, their schematics that they would provide, and you can see they're pretty similar, all said and done. We also got to meet with Matt for a half hour, and we got to meet with Brian from Juniper for a half hour. I also have, I don't know, I sent this, but I don't think it got included in the meeting. This is Juniper's actual proposal.
Oh, good.
Which all their, yeah, thank you, sir.
So Cheryl, Juniper includes the construction documents?
Yeah, they don't separate it.
They don't separate it?
Right, so what
Okay.
they're gonna give us is everything on the design, including the sizes, the timing, the
Okay.
installation process. Whereas Kimley-Horn separates the two, which is why I thought Kimley-Horn was like 12,000 versus
Right.
3,500, which was a totally different scenario.
Mhm.
And then when we started talking to Matt, he said, you clearly are all confused about how we do this. And I'm like, well, then help me understand.
Mhm.
And that's when I asked him for this, I said, you need to update your proposal because we are all confused about what the actual cost of this is. If you're only gonna do part up front, and then we have to do a construction segment, you have to help us understand that. So that's,
So then that construction segment would also include irrigation, any electrical that could be down there and everything? Like, so that entire
Right, whereas
Okay.
Juniper includes that they do irrigation and all of that
Yeah.
right at the outset.
Okay,
So they wouldn't give us the irrigation until the construction documents. They also wouldn't give us the sizes of plants and all the detail needed for
Right.
whoever installs to do the installation.
okay,
So,
great, thank you.
so I think we said that we were gonna try to maintain or keep whatever larger trees we were gonna keep on Laurel. So for $3,500, they're gonna go do a full analysis of what we're gonna keep, what's to be removed, design plan, meet with us, come up with plans, pick them all out for $3,500?
I know, yes.
Because they're gonna make money on the plan.
Do we have to use them? If we,
No.
No.
Absolutely not. So it really is, and actually the presentations that landscape committee heard, what I was concerned, because I actually thought for 3,500, Juniper is gonna give us just like a hand-drawn sketch, right?
Right,
And so when he provided the schematics that they do, they even include 3D visualization, actual visualization, which is only included separately for Kimley Horn. So that's why when I showed you what they're gonna provide, we looked at it and then I looked at it separately, kind of piece by piece, and yeah, they're gonna do it all for 3,500. And I think the other reason is, this is their focus. They do community landscape design. And so this is something that they do so often, they know what their schematics are. It's not something different than what, I think Kimley Horn, this is kind of a one-off for them, because they do big giant projects.
my only concern, I guess if you want to be sneaky, whatever, that is they pick plants that they've got in their nursery that they're gonna be cheaper on as opposed to the things that are best for us, and then they want to put in the bid and it doesn't really work out for us. That's my only concern. I mean, $3,500 just seems outrageously,
Well,
it's not even low.
And
It's-
we asked them about that, and they said, yeah, I mean, and I think they have the bandwidth, but as I said, we don't have to use them. And we can go through revisions and say, we don't necessarily want what you've provided here. And the 2 revisions would allow the landscape committee to make a revision and then for them to come here so that the board can also make revisions. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you is when we talked to both architects, the line I gave both of them, and they're like, well, what do you want? Because this really isn't a new construction project. This is a enhancement, refurbishing of what we have, right? Because we already have the line. And I said, you need to see what we can save, but you need to focus on security as a primary, right? People not getting through it. You need to focus on Florida friendly. You need to focus on deer resistant, and you need to focus on beautification. I said, those are your, make it a barrier, but make it pretty, make it Florida friendly so we don't have to irrigate and water 3 times a week. And they understood that. Sorry, I always have my back to you.
And the other thing I was thinking about is, I went back and looked at some of the old minutes about the fencing. It's gonna be ridiculously expensive to build an immediate barrier with plants, because you have to get everything full grown and whatever. Would it make sense to revisit the fence proposal or revised fence proposal now that they've got those climb-proof fences, to do something with that, so then you can have an actual 7-foot or 8-foot fence back there that's climb-proof as security, and then can have modest plants or actual plants that you want to build, as opposed to going in, trying to find all these big, huge fan palms.
Are you talking about fencing all the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's I'm not saying we can't do it, but we don't have the budget to do it. The fence alone will cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
not the chain link.
The chain, to replace what we have and do the whole mile? Keith, you look.
If
at
you're
this.
replacing what we have out there now, all right,
There is no fencing between the westerly border.
oh, I understand that, but she's talking about the whole, all the way down Laurel
That's
Road, all the
what
way to
I'm
the
talking
front.
about. If you're talking about a new fence because you want climb proof or whatever you said, that is gonna cost a chunk of change. Not only that, but if you put a fence in, you tear up all the landscaping and we have to start over.
Well, I thought that was for the wall, for fence, you have
For
to have
anything.
everything for fence too?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, you've gotta have a 3-foot or swath through there so that their vehicles, their machines to put in the poles, all that type of stuff is wide enough for them to do it, and then you're gonna have to come back and replant.
Right, well, that's, I know we're gonna plant the ladder, I was just trying to figure out if the cost of the fence would offset some of the cost of some more expensive plants or larger plants that we're gonna have to put in.
Well, the plants are there, for one thing, the fence is there for security, as that is. But the plants are there for lights and anything else, and if you don't put those up, you're still gonna have what this young lady was talking about earlier, headlights in her front living room. Okay, so those are the things that, that's why you're going with those tall, bigger, and to fill in spots. Now, if we're gonna go out the front gate and go west, it's almost bare now. We could almost put a fence down through there, not really,
That's what I guess I didn't.
bulldoze a great deal because it's pretty bare as it is. But going the other direction, you're gonna lose a lot of growth that.
Well, I mean, yeah, on the stuff going toward the kayak launch, yeah, I mean, that could be filled in and the fence is already there. I'm talking about going west toward the Willow Chase.
So you're only talking then about the western portion?
Yes, because the eastern portion already has a fence for
We
the
still
most
have
part,
to, I
and then,
mean, we can talk to them about that, it will still cost, we'll still have to take out a lot of stuff to put the fence in. And so my question would be, how much more will we gain
yeah, that's
by doing that?
That's
I
my
mean-
question. That's that's what I'm just trying to figure out. If it makes sense to think about that for security and because obviously fence is gonna get as bit of security as the plants will. And unless you get a lot of plants really big immediately, and then if obviously the plant dies, then
Except that they can still walk around and come in through the front.
Yeah.
And go, I mean, you're right, trust me, I've had this debate with myself many times. And it's who won, yeah. Who won was better landscaping and thicker landscaping to cause people a problem to get through.
Right.
Because I think the fence only provides a temporary relief because we're open in the front and you can just come around.
Well, and I don't know whether you thought about that, because you're right, you can just go around the corner and walk in on, the side of the ninth fairway and you're in, maybe we can think about doing something a bit more decorative there that wouldn't be quite as costly in terms of fence. So that's a thought, and I don't think we need something super high west of the gate because it's already on a hill. So you may not realize that, I actually walk that sidewalk a
No,
lot.
but if you walk up the hill, you're up high and out of climb over. I'm just, and again, I was just throwing it out there. I'm just trying to say,
Not only that, but if you go west to the tee box, we're only talking about to the tee box.
Right,
for the ninth
yeah,
hole.
pretty much.
If you go past the tee box, you can still walk in.
You can, but
It's harder.
It's a much
Well,
harder.
see, I want to make it harder.
Yeah.
All the way
Yeah.
down.
And-
And then,
like I said, I was just
Yeah.
throwing it out there.
Prior to the
If we do,
hurricanes, in that area was pretty blocked in.
there was we didn't have these issues.
And
prior
it
to
was
the
rare that
hurricane.
anybody
That's-
came through that side.
Right.
Yeah,
But between
it was too hard to do.
Ian forward, all of the 4 hurricanes,
There's more population,
So much going.
there's no doubt about it too, I think.
and like I said, I don't have the answer. I'm just saying, if this is something we should look at as we create a design. Do we want to design it with full-grown stuff? And what's that cost? Do we design it with a little bit less with a fence? Because you can still block off some lights and shade, whatever, with it doesn't have to be a thicket. It could just be something that's walkable, but also, I mean, people coming in with golf carts, people coming with motorbikes and stuff like that, and a fence would stop them a lot more than shrubbery would. Again, just something to look, I think we should just. look
One
at
other thing for the
costs.
board to consider too is that down there by Willow Chase, down there by the monument, Willow Chase wants to do something with us as well from their fence over down on us a little bit to secure that area as well. I don't like using the word security, but to make it more difficult to get in behind their property and that pond right there. So.
I understand your concerns, honestly, God, this has been like over a year that I've been thinking about what is the best answer for this. What I would like to do, and I won't make this a motion yet, but I would love to proceed with Juniper and get some designs in front of us, because at this point, we have no idea what we're actually talking about or how much it would even cost to do the enhancement and refortification of the landscaping. I would like to at least, and it'll take them 4 weeks, so we could have them we could have plans at our next meeting, next fall meeting, if we just have a workshop on the next meeting. And then we can actually talk about, okay, what does this look like? What does it mean? Okay, now looking at this, maybe we should get a bid for a fence, but I think we need to get started. I mean, you heard people today.
Yeah.
We gotta do
sure.
No,
something.
so could we get, could we get the bid for a fence, could we get an updated bid for fencing?
Well, we already have sort of a
Some-
ballpark
yeah.
anyway, so.
Well, we don't have it for the don't jump over type fence with
Yeah, it's
the
a 6 foot, I think it was 60 grand. Yeah.
concertina wire.
So-
snipers.
There you go.
So let me back up and make the motion so we can actually just.
Okay,
oh, go
sure.
ahead.
Yeah,
And
no,
then we
no,
can
you make a
discuss.
motion, okay.
So I would make a motion that we proceed with Juniper and ask them to do the landscape design for Lower Road and Medici Berm as proposed.
Is there a second?
Medici, okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, when Juniper does their work, I would like them to think about that section from Willow Chase up to about our monument. Because could it be cheaper to do a fence versus the landscaping? You know, like if they landscaped it, if they didn't landscape it, what that incremental cost would be.
Consider what section?
That section from basically the monument on the west side of the property to Willow Chase.
All the way to
property
Willow
line.
Chase.
Yeah, it's only,
Couple
what,
hundred
maybe 100 yards.
Is it not even a couple hundred yards?
And it's
Yeah,
a good, it's a, 50, 60 degree
okay.
flop shot.
There you go.
For me these days.
Okay, yeah, if we could just do with and without, I don't know if they're gonna do that based on the way the proposal was put together, but I'd like them to think about that. Thank you.
And board members, I just took a look at the proposal while you were reviewing it. The one item I saw in there is they do limit their liability to the cost of the contract. So as long as you're aware of that, I mean, I don't anticipate,
Okay.
this being a huge liability issue, but it's in there.
I would just add, I'm a trust but verify girl. I know LMP's part of Juniper. I don't think our community looks good right now. And I don't know where to put the blame on that, but I'm having real trust issues that these folks are really gonna provide something for us that makes sense. I think we've had problems with some of the designs.
So, and let me just
What's the
say,
difference?
Juniper and LMP are not the same. Juniper has been doing this for a long time, and you can look on their website and see the communities that they have landscaped. And, they just recently brought LMP under their umbrella. They're not the same company. And in fact, the landscape architect who presented to us had just met the LMP people. So there's no, I had that same concern.
And I'm really concerned about the
So
number.
there's
That's
no hook
ridiculously
into
low.
them having LMP do the work.
Okay, no requirement that LMP would do the work. Now, that's not to say that when they come back, they wouldn't say, we would like LMP to do the work. I don't think they're gonna do that, because
It'll be a bidder.
it'll be a separate bid
Why is it
process.
so low though?
Yeah,
It's
it's scary low.
crazy low.
And I think it's because they do this kind of work all the time, and they can look at what they've done in other communities across the state of Florida.
Change the name.
To a point, absolutely. I mean, he has done this work for communities over and over and over again. He knows what's working for security, he knows what's not. This isn't a big park project. This is
I don't think it's that big a job.
I don't
We're
think
not
so.
designing the entrance to Disney World.
I think Kinley Horn, even though concerns about Juniper being low, I think Kinley Horn is thinking this is much bigger than it is, that pricing is.
Yeah, 30,000 is pushed to start,
It's an annoyance to me.
It is an annoyance. I think this is such a one-off to Kinley Horn. Yeah.
I think the only other concern I have generally is the process and the timing. I really do not want to have the board be held up, is the wrong way to put it. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I think it's important, if the landscape committee is gonna be involved, that it be done in parallel with the board. I don't wanna be sitting waiting while the committee is meeting once a month to look at this, and then the board is gonna be looking at it. I think that the board, I would like to see, this is my opinion, I would like to see the board involved before, at the same time as the landscape committee. I don't wanna be waiting for something from them.
I think we would only do that in a workshop. Because we'd have to have the ability, I mean, could we do that during a board meeting and have open dialogue with the landscape committee and the board?
You have to notice
Right.
the committee meeting for the same time as your board meeting. To do it, just
I
has to
mean,
be.
we purposely made the landscape committee in between the two board meetings. We did that on purpose so that we could, so in other words, when this is available, the landscape committee could meet, look at the revision, and it's like the following week
That it comes to the.
that it comes to the board. So timing wise, it would be horrible. We can certainly look at that.
I kind of agree with Joe in the sense that we're hiring a landscape architect to create experts in plans, designs, or whatever, and then we're gonna have a committee of people like if they came to me, let's say Juniper came to us. It's really not for me to say, well, I think we should be using this plant versus that plant. It's concept, whatever, so I don't understand what the committee is really gonna add to it, or.
Well, the committee, we have an arborist on the committee. We have, I mean, that committee was structured so that they can actually talk about what the plant structure is and does it make sense, which is why I wanted it to go to landscape committee first, so they could say, especially the arborist that we have on there, to say, that tree's probably not gonna work, and get that conversation out of the way before it comes here.
Is it a Florida arborist?
It's Harry.
I don't know.
Oh, he's an arborist, and
Yeah, he's,
yeah.
didn't he own a landscaping company?
He
at one
did.
point? Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's very good. He's had provided some really good input at the committee about what we should and shouldn't be doing, and
Because I mean, if we have that expertise and then we have John's expertise, I would like to have both those people with us so we can make quick and fast decisions. Because if we're gonna have this thing roll, we shouldn't get held up with conversations and if the committee's not meeting over the summertime, you know.
we do meet in the summer, but it's like every other committee. You usually cancel July, right? Unless there's something going on because the place is dead. But yeah,
Is there any way we could create a work group? Like we did with La Sala? Is that a possibility from the landscape committee?
We
Can we
have a
do it on
landscape
meeting?
committee.
Pardon?
That's the work group, is the landscape.
But my
committee.
point is that then they're not structured into meeting only once a month.
They can't make recommendations, so what's the
Oh,
point?
crap.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
and you guys all couldn't be there.
Okay.
That's the problem with, yeah. It almost has to be a board meeting or a board workshop.
I mean, you could do a joint meeting / workshop if you wanted, or like Cheryl's saying, you know, they'll meet, and then you could ask this individual, Harry, to come to your CDD meeting if you wanted.
But if we only have Juniper's 2 times, so if Juniper's meeting at, this is not gonna get resolved in probably in 2 meetings. So if Juniper's gonna meet with the landscape committee once and then with us once, then we've gotta finalize it. So if we have more questions, we're spending more money because he's gotta come back again.
I'm fine with that. We just have to figure out how to do it.
Right.
And I have to make sure that landscape committee can, especially the arborist, and there's a lot of skill on the landscape committee in addition to the arborists, people who work with the city on plantings downtown Venice. There are, people who, have much more flower and plant expertise than I do, let's put it that way. So I don't know, I guess Andy and Belinda, what would you recommend?
I mean, if you want to meet with them jointly, then you would just notice them for a meeting in tandem with your CDD meeting. If that's what your intent is.
Okay, so let's talk about timing here. So is the contract okay to be signed as is? or-
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I just want to point out that provision, but,
Yeah, okay.
and we do have a master contract with LMP, which is now, despite, how you said that they don't
Right, now they're the
crossover, they are
same,
Juniper.
but my point was they weren't the
We're
same
assigned.
before, yeah.
It's been assigned, so we have a master contract with them. Yes, you can sign this. I'm not crazy about that one provision, that's why I pointed it out, but, you know, again, there's not a lot of liability there, so, okay. So yes, you execute that, and then I don't know what your timeline is for moving forward, but
That's what I was gonna say, so if that's executed this week, then we give them 4 weeks, so a month from, we're talking the end of February, right? That we would have a design. So what meeting is that?
the our 24th, right?
Oh, March 10th,
Tenth,
right?
yeah.
March 10th. March 10th, I think.
I mean, I guess we could shoot for the 24th if I could get it to him
24th of
today.
February would be our second meeting.
That would be the second meeting. I mean, I just have to get to him and see if we can get him started ASAP. So why don't I talk to him today? I mean, I can talk to him today and find out if he can be done by the 24th to present jointly. at
And
the
then
board meeting.
Belinda can always place an ad for the committee and
Okay,
have a meeting on the 24th at 9:30 at the River Club.
so what I will do today is tell you if it's gonna be the 24th or the 31st is in there, so it's actually 3 weeks then before the next meeting. Oh, no, I'm in March, sorry. Scrap that,
Yeah, February only has 28,
yeah.
sometimes 29.
Otherwise, it would be the 10th. So it'll be the 24th or the 10th, and I will let Belinda know. Okay,
To place an ad, sure.
one of those meetings, they will present jointly.
On that, since you, if this is approved, you will be talking to the dude. I wonder if it's worth getting a consensus from the board whether we think doing a fence just from the entrance west over to Willow Chase, I guess, is something, or maybe not Willow Chase, not for his purposes, but to the monument, I guess, or the tee boxes. If we think, because wouldn't it be valuable for him to know that before he starts?
It'll change the design because it's a whole different proposal. So so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, get him doing the whole proposal. Then we know what it's gonna cost to enhance that part of it. Then even during that time, we can get a fence proposal, let him finish this first design. And then if we
Okay.
come back when he presents and say, we don't think that's enough, can we add a fence and how would that change your
That's fair,
design?
that's fair.
At least we get him
That's
off
fair.
the starting block
Yeah.
to get a design.
Well, and rainy season's coming, so we gotta.
Precisely,
Mhm.
precisely. Is that okay?
I'm just-
So we still have to vote on this Juniper proposal.
It just makes me nervous.
It makes me nervous too.
But you know what?
It's so low, it scares me, it's so low.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I mean, I also am uncomfortable spending $30,000.
Oh,
So,
I
think
agree with
that's a
that.
that's a non-starter for me.
And I guess with
And the more
3,500, I
it's
guess the worst that happens, if we look at the design and we don't like it,
Then
it's
We go to,
it's
right.
$3,500 and it's not that bad of a.
Used to we're spending on.
Yeah, it's not like you're actually going to construction and building something and find out the low bidder screwed up your pickleball courts.
Correct.
It's a piece of paper, so I guess it's not
Exactly.
Right.
so terrible.
Well, I like that you've agreed.
Okay, so it'll either be the 24th or the 10th, and I will let you guys know as soon as I get in touch with them.
Perfect. It's a lot of work.
So we need to vote.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank you.
The
Thank
landscape
you,
committee
that was a lot of work.
meeting.
Thank you.
Well, I think this could be good.
We now have the roundabout design proposal. Cheryl, did you want to cover that one?
That was accidentally included because we aren't doing the roundabout yet.
Okay.
And so he said, when you're ready to do the roundabout, that will be my proposal. But we're not doing that right now,
Was
so
this Topor?
that's Tobert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I tried to get him to bid on Laurel Road. I tried. He said he's lost some people, just doesn't have the bandwidth.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. And just so I'm clear, it does include Benji Berm?
Yes.
Okay.
I even
So
threw
there's
that in
that's
on the
there.
map.
Right, oh, okay, all right, okay, so thanks. Okay. Fabs.
Project Tech Wave update?
Yes.
Okay.
So, we're still in the final week of the application form submission. And as of this morning or last night, we have 989 submissions, or about 72% of the primary homeowners.
Wow.
Now, it's probably not that high because there's a number of duplicates where people submitted, left off information, or needed to change it and resubmitted. All that will get cleaned up after the 31st. So they have the rest of this week to get it in. I'll try to get another reminder sent out, maybe tomorrow, to tell people they've got 4 days left or 3 days left to get it in, to get that last burst. And after that, the vendor needs a couple of weeks, which is why we moved the schedule out to start February 17th as opposed to February 3rd. He's gonna go through and clean up that database that we have, take out the obvious, inconsistencies or incomplete information. And then we'll go from there. We've had one meeting with the volunteer group. We sent out a frequently asked question sheet. And, again, things are moving along. We haven't gotten to the hard part yet, which would be the verification process. That starts, as I mentioned, the second week of February, or third week of February, actually, around the 17th. We've got an accelerated process to go through. We've got more equipment so we can get it done within the same time frame to keep the go live date as April 1st. Towards the end of March, we'll be pushing out the app, or the vendor will be, with instructions and some informative sessions on how to use it. And we'll, again, the plan is to go live April 1st. I'm sure we'll have some weeping and gnashing of teeth through the process, but that's to be expected as people will come to the verification process, maybe prepared, maybe not prepared, we'll find out. And we'll go from there. But we're requiring everything we talked about. There's be no exceptions. We've told volunteers who will be further trained. There'll be training sessions for the volunteers, I should have said that, prior to the verification process starting. We'll go through a number of examples. We'll use ourselves as guinea pigs and go through that process during the training period. And we've told them that there'll be no exceptions, and if people are having a problem, we'll redirect them down to the CDD office. And we'll take it from there. And if it's problematic, I don't think we'll need police on hand, but if it becomes problematic, we're just gonna tell people, look, this is the policy, and I'm sure we'll get some pushback and maybe not.
So a couple of quick questions for you. Paul, with the new TechWave software, does he have an SOP for how you guys will proceed post-implementation, and then how the gatehouse will proceed post-implementation? And if he has something like that, I would love to see it.
I don't believe they do. The gatehouse will not be implementing anything. They won't be putting in anything.
Right.
That all comes through the Venetian with Stephanie or my office. So there's only gonna be 2 players in that. And it'll be connected with up there with the gate access system, but they'll no longer be putting anything in.
Right, but
They'll be
will
trained
there?
on the system, that's all. I am in the process of drafting an SOP
Okay, great.
that will be put out for this board to review.
Okay, great.
So, it's fairly complicated the more I get into it.
Yes,
because
it
there's
is.
just so many, ifs and possibilities.
But the one good thing is that it's all
2 organizations involved.
address driven, which
Right.
makes it a lot easier.
So I guess when I was asking about the gatehouse itself, I was thinking about what their protocol is gonna be, under the circumstances of, there's no QR code that a resident comes with. Can the resident how do they proceed? So we get this a lot, right? I'm just gonna use the example. Somebody drives in, I wanna go to the River Club. Are they allowed to say, the River Club, although it's public, it's a paid-for facility that you need to be a member of. Like, are they allowed to say things like that? Are we gonna change that protocol? Or do you feel like we're
They
just?
can say they're going to the River Club, and the River Club can be private, but the roads aren't. So they can drive.
Right, I understand that. They can still come in, but is there gonna be, and I don't mean to challenge them in a, but is there gonna be like, are we gonna have the guards or the, whatever we're calling them, officers, be privacy managers, okay, be a little bit more, okay, I understand.
Confrontational?
Nah, I don't wanna use it, I don't wanna say confrontational.
Inquisitive.
Inquisitive, yeah, I mean, because I've got stuff, I've pulled some documentation from other CDDs and things like that, and those privacy managers do ask the question. They ultimately allow the people in because they have to, but it just makes the people who are coming into the community a little bit more aware of, well, people are kind of paying attention to the situation. I don't know. Is that something?
There's a fine line.
Yeah, I know,
So I'll give you, I forget who brought up the example, right? It was somebody on this board or elsewhere, where a guest came in, they're on the permanent list. They said, I'm going to see so-and-so. They looked them up, yep, you're on the list. What number Padova are you going to? And they was like, oh, I can't remember the number, but I know the house. Well, you need to know the number. And they were questioning him, they were doing just that,
Okay,
and it just blew up. This guy got chewed out, and it's like the resident was,
yeah, I'm not saying to that extent. I'm just
well,
thinking,
no, I mean. But that's not a big extent. They're just saying, well, where do
where's
you
the
want to
number?
go?
Yeah.
And they
No, no,
couldn't remember the house number.
And the other question, when I was doing a drive around with Keith, we were talking, and deliveries get
Yeah.
auto access without being stopped. So anybody, so our guests have to go through, through the Inquisition to get in here. And if we don't call up and do something in advance, we get berated. But somebody drive in, Uber Eats, go right through.
Yeah, we
I
need
mean,
to,
I think-
those are the types of things I think we need to
I
change.
think we need to come up with some better systems or figure out how we're gonna handle that as a
I don't
board.
think Uber Eats should drive through. I mean, I think
I don't
there's an
either.
exception for Amazon because they're here like 24/7. And I think maybe those 4 AM deliveries shouldn't happen, but.
Because I get Walgreens, no problem. I get Walmart, no problem. When I did Uber Eats and that, and I did a few times, they just came right through. And
You see, I've always called, I've done Uber Eats here twice, and I've called them in, though. I've called the gatehouse to say I'm expecting an Uber Eats driver. I didn't know that they would be allowed to come straight in.
yeah,
They are, and I think that's just.
The gatehouse has been informed, and that was from a previous board, to allow, we do not stop deliveries. I mean, and so if you're wanting to verify, Uber Eats doesn't get in, but Walmart does, or, you all need to tell me who gets in and that doesn't have to be verified, or who does. I mean, and the times,
I think this is a great
we got
workshop
medication, that was the big
Yeah,
thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blow this up. I
I
was
just
just asking.
realized that.
Yeah, no, and thank you,
And it's
Cheryl.
like, and I know you're in that's why I said, as a board, we need to figure out what we're doing, because based upon, you're following the rules of the new board.
My question was more along the SOP, so, okay, thank you.
I have one other question, which you may have already thought about, but after the implementation, at the beginning of April, are you gonna have part of your volunteer group available and maybe advertise that? If you need training on the app, come to the bar between the hours of such and such during this week, and we'll have volunteers available. Because you're gonna have people who are gonna be going,
Oh, yeah.
this doesn't work.
You're right.
Or they don't even know how to download it.
So. I
That's
just
something
think
we
that
can
would be a
do,
good
sure.
That's a good idea.
Provide snacks.
I think what we need to do is we as a board, need to take rotations on April 1st and sit up over by the Welcome Center and watch the show.
You'll hear about it.
Yeah, you don't wanna do that.
It will be a show. There we may need a police officer.
Right, there you go, it's good, yeah.
I have his email address.
Well, I had said to Keith, we'll likely let people in, but tell them they need to get out of the River Club. and get
Yeah,
a new
Yeah.
registry.
it's gonna happen.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
So moving on, we now have item number 5C, which is the discussion regarding the revised resident survey draft.
Yes, so, I think you all would have received from me, because I didn't bring extra copies of the redo.
Yeah.
I checked with Belinda and nothing came in by email. No, it's okay, don't worry, I
I'm
just
so
didn't
busy
want you
with
to think.
landscape, I completely.
No, I just didn't want you to
But I have
think
come.
that, okay, good, no, that's good.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm not berating in any way, I'm just making sure that, I didn't miss something, so. So maybe before we jump into the survey quickly, let me just, you guys, I think also saw the timeline. It's slightly shorter, I think, than it was last year because we were already into the process and it's not quite so new. But I think in general, my thinking is that if we have one more redo, and I can get it back out to you guys so that we're ready to rediscuss it at the February 10 board meeting, and maybe anybody who hasn't done it already, sent this out to their committees. I did send to social and dining, and I don't know if anybody sent to their committees, but I think it's great to get committee feedback on this. So that on the 10th, if we're final, in terms of the board, that we could fairly quickly get out to the community. And there's a preamble email that I'd love to get your view on, so that we could alert the community that a survey is coming. I'll pass it out in a minute. And just maybe one final thing I would say before we look at the content is, I sat with Julie yesterday, and one of the things we discussed is, last time we did this, we were between GMs, and, we've got a somewhat similar situation right now with Bernard being out. So we'll want to make sure we have a very clear, Julie wants to be sure we have a clear plan for Vesta, which I think is something you brought up when we discussed this last time. So, yeah, so. Well, that Vesta has
You
an
threw out
action
an
plan.
idea, what's the?
Well, so that Vesta has an action plan.
And we get updates on the action plan.
Yes.
My comment last time is we had an action plan, but I don't know what happened to it.
Oh.
We never got the follow-up on, here's the outcome of this, and this.
And I think it was, drinking through a fire hose. So
Right.
sorry if I didn't complete the thought, but anyway, I feel confident that the timeline for the communications is all going to be handled by the vendor. The only thing the vendor's going to need from us is an updated list, but Julie and I have already talked about that. So, shall we tootle through the draft?
Yeah.
All right. So,
I have quite a few.
okay, sure,
I'm sorry.
fire away. No, I don't, no
On
sorries.
top of it.
No sorries, I'm ready for you.
Okay, on the first page,
Yes.
I would suggest combining, do you have children living at home, and then,
If so, how many?
where is it? Yeah, with,
Do we want that on this survey? I mean, how many? I mean, does it matter to us? Because we're gonna have that.
well, I think
with
if you just
with
put,
the new system.
what,
We're gonna have how many people are in the home through the new system. So do we need to know how many on here?
Yeah, because the problem is gonna be if you ask how many, if you're doing it per person, two people are gonna answer
It's
it,
gonna be confusing.
and you're gonna have,
Yeah.
you're gonna have twice
I
as
would
many
leave
kids,
the how many.
potentially twice as many kids
Yeah.
here then.
I mean, at the end of the day,
It'd be nice to know, but you
because
can't.
no, and I think, I agree with you, Rich, I think it's gonna create a problem. I think we should, are you okay if we take that out then? How many children do you have living at home? We just take that out.
either take it out or combine the two, just by adding a zero.
Because it's gonna create confusion.
It's gonna-
Rich is right. Because, some
That's
of these are, demographic information we were looking for. Yeah, okay, so, next.
Then I had on the bottom, please rate your level of agreement with the following statements.
Yep,
Proud to bring guests and so on.
right.
The one says, the club is my preferred place to meet my friends. The thing I have a problem with there is, I don't imagine you're ever gonna get a high place, a number of people.
Hmm.
Why I just have trouble with the statement.
And I think you kind of covered, and I'm comfortable recommending the club to my neighbors.
Yeah,
And the question is also, we're talking about the club or the restaurant?
the club.
Well, that's true.
This is the
No,
club.
I have no problem taking it out.
I mean, that third one,
Okay, we'll take it out. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, take that out. No problem. Got it.
The rating of the pool.
Oh, before we get there, I was just gonna change one thing in case we get to the pool. The next question, while I'm thinking about your experience at the club, I'm just changing brunch to Sunday breakfast.
It's,
a good idea.
Yep. And then I had some feedback from social and dining, that we probably should break out, at Tiki Bar, Tiki Bar drink service and Tiki Bar food service. So I'll probably break that out if you all are okay. Okay.
Could you also, chronological the months versus alphabetize them?
Well, they're chronologically this way.
Oh, I was reading it down.
Yeah.
Oh, so we go across on some and down on other things. So like, because we went down, sure, because we go down on, the age,
I think it's just the way it appears.
the way that it appears,
I'll
okay.
ask though.
Okay, yeah, because in
I
some
will-
cases we're going down and then
I'll
next
ask
case
the
we're going
question,
across.
is it gonna appear as a list? I'll
Yeah,
ask Jason that
thank you.
question, no problem. I get where you're coming from. Okay, you said something about the pool, anything?
So when you get to, please evaluate the resort pool,
Yes?
in the last line, it says visibility of pool attendants and management.
Mhm.
I would suggest taking and management out because,
It's really the pool attendant, you're
yeah,
right.
why is it important that management be out by the pool all the time?
If they're out by the pool, we probably have an issue. They're sunbathing.
Yeah, I guess. I think we don't have a presence out there, but whatever, that works for me.
Okay.
Okay.
On the days, months of use of the locker rooms,
You just lost me. How many pages did
sorry,
you go?
I'm trying to
It's
find.
gotta be after fitness areas and the
Yeah.
locker room, shower facilities, so it's,
I think you need to put a 0 or NA in there.
Oh, yeah.
well, no, we don't need to, I'll tell you why, because when you have the which amenities do you use, if you don't check locker rooms, you won't, it's a skip logic, you
Oh,
won't
okay,
get
good.
it. So that's why you don't need never.
Okay, is that?
I had that discussion with the dude, yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
and Joe, I know we discussed, I know that's what we're thinking, but I have I'm just worried about somebody's not using the locker room because they don't like the condition of the locker room. So,
Well, there is a question that says, what could be done to improve your experience with the locker room?
But if
That
it-
will not be skipped, because that's a comment field, I don't think.
but if you get an NA, you might skip the whole thing.
None of
And
the
I'm
comments
just
should be
I just don't want to lose capturing some.
Okay, so in other words, if there's a negative, I'll ask him how to handle
Yeah,
that.
because like I said, if
Okay, I get where you're coming from, yeah, okay. I'll make sure it doesn't get missed.
Yeah, I just want to make sure because certain things
Yeah,
make some sense, I mean, I think those locker rooms are kind of, especially the men's ones, like a little scuzzy.
yeah.
And if I had my druthers, I would never use it if I had
Well, I'll
no
make
choice
sure,
to.
I'll make sure that if you want to weigh in the locker room, you can. How's that? Even if you didn't check that you use it, because I get it, and I think a lot of people do, because they use it as a bathroom and
Right,
not
yeah.
as a locker room. Yeah, okay, next.
My next was down in the, towards the end, the how supportive would you be with the following potential changes?
Anybody have anything before that?
I do, but it was a longer conversation, so
Okay. You want to have it now?
I was gonna let Ken finish.
Okay, all right,
And then
okay.
I'll- Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So where are you from? Sorry.
I'm at the how supportive
Supportive
would you be
thing.
with the following?
Yeah.
So we talked about opening more nights and,
Mhm.
requiring a minimum for dining. Do we want to put in here somewhere about asking about expanding La Sala? And at what cost and what it would require an assessment?
Well, yeah, so it's an interesting, in my opinion, it's an interesting question. I mean, we've already asked the first three questions in the prior survey, right? We asked opening more nights for inside, opening more nights for outside dining. Those were asked last year. Yeah, I didn't
The
want to
three.
take anything out.
Okay.
So the first three questions were asked last year, requiring a yearly minimum. It was pretty clearly a no, it was 2-1
Yeah.
against. But when you get down to the question of, you know.
What?
If we want to, why am I not seeing?
Well, you asked the question,
Are you under how supportive? Just so I know where we are, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I would also change, I mean,
well, let's finish
okay.
Ken's thing though,
What's your recommendation? What do you want to
Should-
change
should-
here?
if we're looking for opinions, this is like an opinion section
yeah,
of potential changes. Why wouldn't we ask about expanding LaSalle Bar?
we could ask that, or do we want to ask a more general question about, would you be supportive of, would you be supportive of, and I think we'd have to
You have
quantify
that
it.
in here, the assessment.
No, that's for modernizing the dining room.
Oh, yeah, and then right above that, it's screening.
See, that's what I'm saying, we're asking about
Mhm.
something haven't even talked about doing,
Yeah.
and yet we don't ask about something that we're gonna work
I
through.
also thought the
to do.
assessment was a little premature, because I think first we have to
Well,
say,
let's
are you
get there. I'm gonna
supportive?
get there too.
Yeah, okay, I'll shut up.
So, yeah,
So I went to the second supportive list, okay, I'm of two minds about it. You know, I think I wouldn't want to limit it to $100, but we're gonna get a lot of pushback because we've already gone to the well on landscaping, right? So we're gonna get a lot of pushback. That's, you know, so therefore, yeah. What do you got?
Premature to ask about
Premature.
LaSalle since we're not there yet.
No, premature to ask about the
That's
subsidy,
the
$100 subsidy.
$100 assessment for updating the dining room, I think.
You're ahead of me. I'm still on the first point. We haven't answered my first point. Do we want to include a question about expanding LaSalle since we're asking about doing these other things?
Yes, I think.
Well,
we
I
should.
think, yes, I think that we should, but I think part of it is, you know, are these all asked in the same part of the survey? Are they asked in the individual areas? Because I think people are gonna wonder if they already answered it.
No,
You don't think they
we
will?
haven't brought up expanding LaSalle anywhere in this.
No, and I think, well, let me just throw this out there. Part of maybe it'll change the wording then. Part of the discussion we've had is about, we underutilized the patio that we spent a lot of money on before anybody on this board ever got on board with pavers out there, you know, which is, I think, probably what's behind the screening in the patio question. You know, shouldn't that be captured as part of the whole question?
Probably.
So
It's kind of part of the expansion
It
of
is part of the
LaSalle.
expansion of the site.
But we haven't
said.
we're asking about that, but we're not asking about the more expensive portion.
I agree, and my
I
comments
I
about.
don't feel strongly either way, I'm just saying if we're gonna be asking
We need to
questions about
absolutely ask
future
something about-
projects.
yeah.
So can I just talk really quickly about what I wanted to include for landscape, because I think we could do the same thing for facilities.
Sure.
What I wanted to take landscaping out of landscaping around the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That's just kind of, doesn't matter. But then I would like a section that says, what should we prioritize for landscaping improvements or enhancements? And then, remember the priority list? I would put each one of those in there and then have the grading of strongly agree, disagree, neutral, agree. So basically it would say, Laurel Road, Medici Berm, tree replacements, Passaro Drive, River Club, Siltadella, pool area, front entrance, Veneto, cul-de-sacs. Because I would really like to see where the community falls out on which ones they would prioritize.
I'm not sure it belongs in here. This is amenities. Do you think it belongs
Well,
in
there, we put
amenities?
landscaping questions in.
Yeah, but I think it means the landscaping around the clubhouse.
Okay, so you wouldn't put that in there?
That's just my opinion, but I think it
Yeah, that's
strays.
kind of outside the scope.
You know,
of
like,
Okay.
are the roads bad? You know, what about the sidewalks?
Well, because it would be a good place to do the survey, because otherwise we have to do a separate survey. Because it's one of the issues we have about
Yeah.
trying to get the whole community to input
Mhm.
on landscaping. I mean, it's an amenity to the community, even though it's not a best amenity.
I think it's gonna distract, you know, one of the pieces of feedback I got from the survey vendor is you need to be respectful of people's time when they're filling out a survey, so be careful what you add.
All right, we'll do this one separately then,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
And I'm sure they
But
can help, but it wouldn't be.
What about that kind of concept for
Right.
facilities. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about what should we prioritize for facilities improvements at the River Club? And then list the locker room, La Sala expansion,
Okay, that's a good idea.
Well,
fitness expansion. I mean, kind of list all the things and see what kind of feedback we get.
you just gotta be careful about that, because like I mentioned last time, the LaSala may tie into the locker room based upon how you utilize space. So people say, oh, no, I don't want to do the locker rooms at all, but I want to do the LaSalle expansion, but I can't do the LaSalle expansion until I do the locker room.
But I think
So,
that's okay. This is just input. It's not
Okay.
a,
It
it's
is
not
okay.
a
That's fine.
definitive. You can't
Fair.
do one without
Yeah.
the other.
good point taken.
But I think it just will help that if we get a huge response on La Sala, we know taking away from the locker room to do La Sala is really okay.
Okay,
I just think it'll give us a good
point
feel.
taken.
Anyway.
You
Okay.
realize that anybody who doesn't use the locker room is gonna say, don't do
Right. It's kind of a self-fulfilling, and I have that issue on.
it. When you ask
things,
the
yeah.
2,500 people, the 150 people that use the locker room will make it a priority. The other 2350.
Well, does it mean we don't ask it
Will
though?
say, don't spend a nickel on it. Just the nature of this community.
Well, it's anything, I mean, you know.
I still think we're asking about priority. If you ask it about priorities, I think it will help.
So then is what, so do you all feel that if we go to that sort of the last page where we have the, would you be supportive of the following potential changes? If we took out the first three, open more nights for inside dining, because those aren't quantified anyway.
Right.
Open more dining for outside dining, reporting, requiring yearly minimum. If we took those three out and replaced it with, how would you prioritize the following improvements? Knowing, do we talk about an assessment or do we just ask?
I wouldn't talk about the assessment.
I wouldn't
I would first,
either.
because that's
It's
a
a
year out
bad
anyway.
idea.
Don't,
I think it's a bad
The
idea.
A word is.
I think that word is a bad word right now. So then we could put in, expanding the sala, screening in the patio. Salad. Screening.
Where did the question about the main dining room come from? We've never even talked about that.
yeah.
Somebody added it.
Obviously, somebody added it.
Maybe put that in here, updating
But
main
if-
dining room. I put it in here so we know
Yeah,
the
that's fine to
priorities.
put it in there, but I would not bring up assessment, and I would
No,
never,
a
never
number.
talk about an assessment for
no.
a $137,000 project. It's just, if you're talking $1 million project,
So
yes.
then, we're talking about expanding the sala, screening in the back patio, updating the main dining room, and,
Locker room.
updating the locker rooms. Anything else?
What about, no, I think that's fine, but in that same section, those last two comments are self-fulfilling prophecies. You have 150 people who play tennis and you have 150
Yes.
people who
So
do
do we just
fitness.
make a decision then?
I think you take those out because they're clearly gonna get voted down because, but yet they were things that people bought into the community for because they knew it existed.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I
make
think
any
that's a
sense.
discussion for
Okay.
us.
Fair enough, I'll
But I'd
take those
take
out.
that out.
I mean, it might be interesting to get that though, because I know there are a lot of people on tennis who say they don't care if there's a
Well, we could
program.
ask the question.
Then I
in
think, it's like the landscape survey, then I think we do a smaller survey
Okay.
of the tennis people.
That's
because
fine,
Yeah, because you're,
that's
Yeah.
fine. No, that's fine, I get it, in fact,
You can ask, but why would the people who play tennis say, yeah, I think you should charge me more for playing tennis?
no, what
No,
he's saying
the
is,
pro.
do they want the pro?
Do they want the
There's
pro?
a lot of
He's saying
people,
some people
yeah, a lot of
want the
tennis
pro.
people say they don't care if there's a pro or not, they don't use a pro. A lot of people go use a pro outside of the community.
That's right,
There are pros that actually travel and a couple of the people
right.
could bring their own pro in.
So,
So you just have somebody who kind of coordinates the whole thing?
yeah, you need somebody to.
I mean, somebody has to be
administrate.
responsible.
Yeah.
So then, if I'm clear, then what we're doing is we're having in how, maybe I can ask for, how do you feel about the following potential changes, expanding the sala, screening the back patio, updating the main dining room, and updating the locker rooms, those four. We good with that?
And then you're gonna take out the house supportive section, which talks about screening the patio and doing an assessment. That's a couple pages before.
That's a couple
Yes,
pages.
yes,
I think we
those would
should take that
absolutely
out.
have to
Yes.
come out.
So
yes.
is this gonna be a prioritized? Give me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being the highest priority?
Okay, I could ask her to rank order it.
I don't know.
I would, yeah.
There's only 4, it's not like you're asking to prioritize 10.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let me make sure that, well, I'll know enough to take, here it is. Okay, I'll take that out. Got it, okay.
Or do we want- Or do you want to do it that each, you're prioritizing the tiki bar, the masala, or the screening, or the dining room? Some people may say, I want all 3 of them done, and now you're now ranking them downward. Do you want to say, I strongly agree we should, so you have them, people, you may
I
want to
see
do
what you're
all,
saying.
you may want to do all 3.
So make it the strongly disagree,
Yeah.
disagree neutral.
Okay,
That's fine.
Just-
okay,
And then we can look at it and review that data and see what people really want to do, because I think if you're gonna,
fine. That's a good point. Yeah, thank you. That's good. I'll have them do that. That's no problem. And I did take already out that other little doodad. What else?
Are you done?
Are you
I can
done?
I have one other quick one, and that is, when you talk about which of the following dining venues have you used in the past 6 months, then we say, how many times per month do you dine outside the community? I feel like we should ask, how many times have you dined at the River Club?
Yeah, but
Or maybe taking out which of the following, because we don't ask how many times, but if they say they use all these amenities, but they dine out 3 times a week, don't we want to know if you dine out 3 times a week, you dine at the River Club once a week?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something off there and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but
okay, so, well, could we just ask the same question dining outside, just saying dine at one of the River Club?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
that's fine.
At River Club, okay, no problem.
That was my only
Yeah,
other.
okay, cool. Yep, can do that. Especially since we're picking up that other stuff. Yipper. What else? Anything? Now that my pages are all out of order.
They're not numbered, which made it really hard for
Yeah.
my printer. It fell off my printer and I was like, oh crap.
That's why I did this. That's why I
Make sure
didn't even
we're
try to
good.
print
Sorry
it.
about that, kids. Okay. Anything else? You're very fast at getting this done. I did want to share with you the draft, last year we sent an email out to residents in advance, and this is what went out last year. It would come from from Club Insights. So obviously it would need to be updated a little bit, so, you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. I don't think I had sent this to you, so, we may wanna adjust it. Well, I'm not sure we need to though. I think I kept it pretty general.
Second line towards the end should be as well as.
Right. Yeah, and as well as.
As well as.
Oh, I
You're
see,
missing
okay.
that as.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll just make sure there's nothing in here that's off. Okay. So this would go out, I would feel comfortable sending it out, late next week, because I think even if we'll have a few more changes on February 10, maybe not, but they turn this stuff around in like 24 hours. So if you're okay with this, then I think I can just sort of push onward.
you also want to put in here, that it's each owner or adult of the household, or whoever, just so people know that if they don't get the email, they have to reach out somehow,
Okay.
because it's not per household, it's per.
Right. Okay, yeah, okay, I will do that. I'll figure out what you have to do that. Who to talk to. Okay, got it. All righty, any other questions? Yeah, cool, thanks. Thank you for.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for doing
appreciate it.
that.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is item number 5B, which is a discussion regarding the next steps for vendor goals.
Yeah, I put that on and I'm realizing it's already 12:30. I just, you guys have heard me bang on about this before. you know, I think that we need to provide goals to, certainly at least to Rosetta and Vesta, so they have something to operate against. So,
Yeah, I started a list of KPIs, and then I came up with probably 5 or 6 for Vesta. I had a hard time coming up with anything for Rosetta. I haven't given it any more thought, but
I think everybody's been buried in some stuff. Should we workshop? I mean, I think workshop, because I've thought about it as well. And I also looked at the strategic plan because,
Yeah.
you know, obviously there are some things in there. And in fact, the Rosetta contract documents I found helpful putting a framework around, you know, expectations. So, all right, let's do it. Let's do that we'll put that on for the workshop.
No, Chris, quick question regarding that. You handle a lot of people and a lot of vendor relations, and a lot of things are going on, and we don't hear about the things that people are, you know, vendors are not doing their job, or things that people complaining about. Can we get some kind of better reporting, emails or something from you weekly, whatever, what's transpired, who did this, who didn't do that? I mean, just, because we don't know if a vendor's not doing their job. You know, if you're constantly harassing a vendor to do something, we don't know about it.
why do we need to know?
Well, this world was approving the vendors, we approve contracts of that vendors,
We approve contracts.
but if the vendor's not doing.
Managing the vendors,
But if somebody's,
we have a management company to do that, Rich. This is we keep asking them to do more. This is part of the problem. We've lost people because they get so many requests and things to do. I don't know what having him do a report every week on what issues came up. It's not actionable. We're a board. We don't run the day-to-day operations.
but we approve contracts.
But
the
if-
vendors-
Fine, when the contract comes up, we should
Exactly.
ask,
Then we should say.
what's our experience with this guy?
And if it's crappy, then we can say.
That's what we do.
All right.
We're a board.
I think one thing I would add though is I find it, and I don't know whether things don't go to Keith, but there are times when, for example, I'll get an email, we all get emails from residents who are frustrated because, you know, they've asked something to be done, maybe it's a wetlands thing or whatever. And sometimes, you know, I feel like I don't really know what's happened. So, and I understand we get reports, you know, from Keith, and sometimes there's nothing to report. I understand that. So maybe I need to think about it, you know, a little bit more. But I understand where Rich is coming from. Sometimes I feel a bit out of touch with what's going on in the field stuff. So.
I don't know how much touch you're
I don't know.
expecting, but again, we have management companies that we hire and pay to run the operations.
I mean, and if we get repeated, for me, if I get repeated emails that come to all of us, I won't respond all because I think
Right.
that's dangerous, obviously, but I would say, I would bring it to the committee and say, hey, I've gotten 3 emails, like I did with the wetlands. I'm like, I'm confused now because I'm getting so many emails about the wetlands. Who's taking point?
To,
I know,
both
but I
those
said, who's
residents
taking
on every
point
occasion.
and what's going on? And you answered.
we followed up.
And so that's what I do. If I see
Take it
repeated
down.
stuff, I just bring it here and go, hey, who's doing this? But otherwise, I make an assumption, good or not, that if it's something about Vesta, you've seen it, you're taking the lead on it because you're the liaison. If it's something about pickleball, Cindy has seen it, if she's on it and she's taking the lead on it. I am making that assumption, but if I get a second one and nothing's been done, then I'll bring it back to this group and say, who is taking lead and what's being done?
And that's kind of the approach I've taken as well. I assume that the liaison is managing the situation unless I get a second email.
And we talked about that a little bit in the sunshine thing this morning also, so that
Yes.
if you feel the need that, gee, I really want to respond to this resident or whatever, you can just say, hey, Ken is in charge of this issue, please make sure you're emailing him.
All right, so workshop item for.
Workshop
February.
Or the CDD office is in charge of this issue. check.
Thanks, Ken.
Email key. Well, that's.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what people should be doing.
Okay, moving into the next item, discussion regarding committee charters.
I think I put that on because I actually looked at all the charters and I redid the landscaping, because there were some wrong things in landscaping, like it actually had the name of the board member who was the liaison, and then as I looked at all of them, I thought, we really should have a template for the
Yes.
charters, because they are,
You're
and
right.
I will be happy to draft that for the next workshop. Because it drove me nuts looking at all the charters, trying to figure
Yeah,
out.
and people being
Who's
removed from
where.
the committee and all this other stuff.
It should all say the
It all say the
same
same thing.
So if you're okay with that, I'm happy to do a template. Okay,
Thank
Okay.
you.
I
Great.
thought at one time we did.
Yeah.
We tried to harmonize them, I think it was
That's
before
working on that.
board.
Did
They're all very, they're
Cheryl and
all
I
very
got it.
different. They are incredibly different.
Oh, well, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Discussion regarding the newsletter?
Did I put that on? I might have put it on to say, are we having one? Because people keep asking me, they're like, they got the update from, we sent out the Rosetta to-do list, but I got a couple of questions about, are you guys doing a newsletter anymore? And that's why I put it on. I don't know the answer.
Well, I think we should. I don't know about quarterly. One of the things I've noticed, I was looking back at some of the comments we got from last year's survey, is people get so many emails from different Venetian entities. So, I don't know. It's work. I will tell you, if anybody wants to take it on, I'd rather not. It's a lot of work.
Well, does it have to be that difficult? Could it just be like, more of an update type thing? Like, the board had a meeting, we hired a landscape architect.
Well, but we're sending it out now. That's going out now.
Belinda's.
In
Linda
Belinda's.
Summers.
Yeah.
Belinda's summary.
But I'm saying, we can then, Tech Wave is coming, the plan is, if people, so what else would it, so if we're doing that, what else would a newsletter then?
Well, there are things, for example, because I have taken the habit of scribbling things down that would make sense to go in the newsletter. For example, Keith and I have talked a lot, and I'm sure you have too, about, what do the folks at the front gate do? What should you expect, what should you not expect? It's helpful to remind people.
You used to have informative stuff like, hey, if this is an HOA.
Yeah,
this type of
And
thing,
don't
so
feed
you're-
the alligators, and don't let your kids drive their, golf carts and stuff.
We put the landscape priority list in the newsletter, so people knew what the
Yes, we
intent
did,
was.
and we do it for the budget, and it's very valuable, in my opinion, it's very
The
valuable
budget,
for
we have to
budget.
have a newsletter for
We do.
budget.
We do, because it's
But
the only
like,
way it's.
If there was a newsletter right now, I would say, hey, we're pulling the poinsettias, bad idea, we won't do that again. And we're gonna till the dirt, so be patient with the dirt until we get the next round of flower updates. But that's minor, it's not.
So Belinda had mentioned a couple meetings ago, and I went on to, I think it's the Greyhawk CDD website, where, they have like a little pop-up, yeah, and I get it that not everybody goes to the CDD website, but it doesn't mean we can't try that and see if we can get people to go there, and that way we could put little reminders in or little blurbs in.
That would be a good idea.
We could try it.
And after Jonas launches, we can throw the link in. We'll throw the link into the CDD site, so. that
So
it
how would
launches.
Does that mean that we all would independently put stuff in?
I think we should,
No,
what I
in
would
Great
say.
Hawk, they have
One person.
the chairman.
That makes sense, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay,
'cause
yeah.
Yeah, and everybody would see it, but maybe that's the kind of thing, there might need to be a little bit of latitude, because nothing crazy would be put in. I wouldn't mind doing it.
And I would say,
Unless you
I
want
will
to.
make this offer, because vice chair doesn't really have a lot to do. You
want
have to
to
do everything, so I would take that if you wanted me to,
Oh,
and
I
then.
wish you were, it's the hell of your garment.
When the site, yeah. I
That would be
I would
awesome.
do that.
So, okay, how do we technologically make that happen?
I'll connect with the website company so that they can create a username and a password for Cheryl. And then Amber can go through, because Amber knows how to do the pop-ups. She can do a Teams meeting with you to show you how to add them.
That's
And then we'll
awesome.
also give
I
access to
will need training,
Leanne
yes.
and
Thank you,
Keith, so
Sharon.
that
That's
when
awesome.
you're not available to do it, Leanne or Keith can do it as well.
Thank you. That's
Perfect.
awesome. That's
Okay.
awesome.
We do have a lot of emails that go out. In the past 2 weeks, I've probably had excess of 10, 15 people. And I said, well, did you get the email? No, I just delete everything that comes through because there's so much coming through. And I just look at them and go, well, go back to your deleted file and look for this. No, just sit down here, we'll show you. But it just becomes, I mean, I've had excess of 15, 20 people going,
Right,
I just delete everything because there's so much coming out of that
Right.
building or, you know,
right.
from the River Club.
Three
So
different
it's
entities.
And then the retractions, because things was, wrong date was put out, or the.
the POA sending stuff.
One other thing to think about is Julie and I have talked about a reader board,
Mhm.
in the front when you come in on the left. We saw one at the TBC response, and they're actually very easy to do. It's a web-based thing, so you get a TV monitor, we mount it. It's a web-based thing, so I think, we ultimately, maybe we can get there, because that's the perfect place to put, annoyed about the poinsettias, well,
Yeah, we can start with the CDD website, because that'll be
Right,
quick.
and then,
And then we can transition if we get to that point.
Just to interject, we've seen in many communities, the success is typically if you have multiple forms of communication. So some people want the paper flyers, some people want the newsletter, we get complaints if we don't send a separate flyer email for different events, even though we do, when I first was helping here, I said, hey, you should do a Sunday one where it's kind of like an
Right.
overall,
right,
because then we can do the non-read too. So some people unsubscribe. So we find it all the time. People, I didn't get this. Okay, we go in your profile, you unsubscribe. We're gonna put you back in, but just remember,
right.
if you unsubscribe, then you won't get anything. But I mean, the newsletter now is November,
Oh, yours, the River Club newsletter.
it's November to
Yeah,
April
'cause we're
every
talking
month.
about the CDD.
Okay, well, I'm just,
CDD,
I'm
yeah,
saying
okay.
this one,
Yeah,
so
because
you
I
know,
think then people get confused, I'm like, well,
totally confused,
you
yeah.
know, when the POA puts stuff out, and then people are like this.
Yeah,
People don't know
HOA.
the difference.
No.
Melinda, I have a question for you. Can you or Amber tell us how many hits a month does the CDD website get
I can't and Amber can't, but I can find out pretty easily.
It's small.
that aren't
I
from board
think
members?
it's small,
It's not the five
which is
of
why
us.
the board.
Yeah, they're not from board
Oh, the
members.
board's- the board's the way to go.
If it's a double digit, I'll be surprised.
Okay, I'll find out.
This will give me practice, though.
I'll find out and I will let everybody know.
Okay.
All right, discussion regarding palm tree straightening guidelines.
Apparently I was on a roll. Okay, so Landscape Committee has a recommendation that, we have periodically these big trees, especially in the cul-de-sacs or wherever, will lean. We would like to give Keith, the field manager, approval that if any palm tree is leaning more than, we said 20 degrees, it could be 15 degrees, that Keith just get it fixed. Because it's like $300 to $500 every time we stake them and straighten them, but we're waiting to get approval, and we just want him to be able to go look like it.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Cool.
thank
It'll be
you.
done.
That was easy. I don't know, I was like, here's me in the committee, what is this?
I'm fine with, personally, I'm fine with
What
Keith,
is that?
you know,
What is that?
if Keith sees something in the community, I'm fine with him
Yeah.
to take care of these things and not wait for us, like the flag and whatever, there's.
Well, the flag can change up already.
Oh, good, thanks.
But
But
you know, it's those types of things that's.
We're gonna move into consent items. There are 3 consent items for your acceptance.
I move we accept the 3 consent items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye. Thank you. We now have the acceptance of the Racket Sports Advisory Committee revised charter. I don't know if we want to table this until the next meeting.
Could we wait until we have the template and then kind of put them on the same form?
Sure.
Okay.
There were minor changes, but yes, absolutely.
Okay. Advisory Committee liaison reports.
I don't have one, but no.
I have a quick one, and that is that LMP is meeting with the sod vendors this week. So you should see them pull the trigger pretty quickly on the sod replacements. And the other thing that came up at Landscape was the potted plants around the pool. We used to have a member of the committee who volunteered, and remember, they were all
Yes.
beautiful. And then we had asked someone else to be hired to maintain them. I think you guys changed the structure there, so you're not using anybody from outside to do the potted plants. And the landscape committee has noted that they do not look as nice. And so what is the plan for the potted plants around the pool? Because they really did add a lot of beauty to the pool area.
We're doing that. I
Okay,
mean, Juan's taking care of them. He really enjoys it. Some of the ones she's done a good job, but do you have some that you specifically don't feel are being attended?
yeah, I can go through them with you. I can go out there with you.
Okay, yeah, we'll walk
It was
with,
just a question about, is it under control, really? Because Kit obviously was babying them when he was doing them.
yes.
But
But then when it went from non-volunteer to
trust me, I
paying, it
understand.
was a
I
challenge.
understand.
We can't spend thousands of dollars on the potted plant.
And that was never the intent. That kind of grew out of control.
Yeah.
So,
And that was a resident too.
yep.
I'll
So,
get with you.
I will,
Okay.
I'll walk around with you. Okay, that's it.
Any others?
Yeah, POA liaison, Bob was here, Bob and John and I met over, last Friday, and we had a great conversation about what we can do to help reunite the community with some of the divisiveness that's come through with everything. So Bob and John, and I are gonna continue to work on ideas. We talked about, and I don't know if this is feasible or not, we talked about possibly doing a workshop with the POA board members and the CDD board members. I don't know if that is something that can be pulled off or not. But we talked about doing that just to see what we can do to help move everybody forward. So we're kind of, we all know we have to stay in our lanes, right? But we also can kind of deliver a common message with everything that's happened with the shopping center. There's, a lot of angst in the community, and we want to start that healing process. I don't want to sound like a preacher, but but that's one of our things that we're going to try to help, and I don't know how everybody feels about possibly doing a workshop with the POA.
I don't see any downside.
Okay,
I'm fine with it.
okay. Is there any,
Just notice it. that's
just
all.
notice
And
it?
they have to,
Okay.
and they have to notice too.
Okay.
The people
Right,
that
they'll have to do
And
whatever they
then
do
you'll have
from
to
their
notice
end.
it too.
But from our end, just pick a date, and notice, placing it out in the newspaper 7 days ahead.
Okay, Bob, do you have anything else? Oh, I can't.
On the conversation that was just took place on communication and the number of emails that come out, I believe it would be very helpful if who's sending the email out would be somewhere in that email. For example, the CDD often sends emails out that are signed by the River Club. That's the signature at the bottom of the letter.
Was that the Tech Wave one?
Yeah, they do, because
Yeah.
it's sent out under their template, that's what happens.
But it'd be nice,
Subsequently, I put in the,
it would be.
on those, I put the board, the CDD board.
Yes, Cindy made an observation that when we last met, we talked a lot about staying in lane. And what are the 5 or 6 areas that the POA has accountability for? We want to stay in those 5 or 6. We don't want to mess with somebody else's area. Certainly in a public meeting, although there's no public here.
You're it.
You are the
You are the
public.
public.
So yeah, we're gonna continue to work on that. We can meet and see when we can get together with the 10 of us then.
But it'd be easy if it's coming, from the CDD somewhere in that, like, and it was Techway, was one of them.
Mhm.
But I just thought I remembered others, not those.
Anything I send to Constant Contact has my signature block in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Good, good, good. And then the other thing is the number of websites,
Oh,
Yeah.
and who do they belong to? So I've already gotten that question, again, it's
Getting into the.
clearly not
No, yeah, no, that's right.
quantifiable, but
Yes.
I've got a couple things. And from the CA, the big thing they handled with the flags has been resolved. The other thing is the shopping center, working with the POA and the CA, whatever. We were talking and we felt that rather than going to the commissioners who were basically not going to do anything against what Neil had to say, we figured let's try to reach out to Neil first. Because if we got his tacit approval, a bigger full approval, or even just a neutral, would be better than having him working against us. We reached out to
for
him.
what?
to do something about the traffic patterns in the front. To go, the commissioner's gonna have to do it, but if you don't get Neil's, if Neil doesn't buy in, it's gonna be a lot harder to get the commissioners to do anything for us. But if we figured, if it was us, the POA, the CA, Neil, all, and then we went to the city of Venice, and then we went to the commissioners, and we all were in agreement that front traffic pattern is dangerous because there's 16 or 17 different possible turns you can make at that intersection, not to mention what happens with sidewalks. And then once you drive into the shopping center, if you hit the first stop sign as somebody's crossing the street, all the cars behind them back up, and now I've pulled out of our building, I'm going into the shopping center, and now cars are backed up, and now I'm in the middle of the road with cars following down to 45 miles an hour. What do you do? So we figured we had a lot of issues that we wanted to deal with. So we wanted to take care of that. So that's how we want to approach it. We heard from Neil's people right after the meeting. We reached out to them, and they said, let me speak to him. He's really pissed off. He spent a lot of money, but let me see if he's amenable to conversation. We heard back 5 minutes after one person appealed the decision. So 5 minutes later, they called back and said, we're waiting until the appeal process is over before you even entertain a conversation.
Yeah.
Waiting for what?
The appeal.
Waiting for the appeal to go over, because one person put an appeal through. So he doesn't want to talk to us until that time. But I've been speaking to Barbara quite a bit about that. Trying, strategizing with her and with Rich Cotero. How do we get the best bang for whatever we have left to get some benefit of, to get some assistance to get that thing resolved.
Non-adversarial would be
Oh, that's
really.
1,000%. No,
Yeah.
no, we've already, we pretty much talked about an approach, but we want to sit down and hone in on the notion of safety. History, I don't care about. Safety and reputation and whether it's public's reputation if there's a lawsuit, Neil's reputation if there's a lawsuit, safety of the community, and that's period. End of story. That's what we care about. But we just have to figure out who's going to do talking, exactly how. We're also waiting a little bit to see how the appeal goes, to see if we can't get any handle on the politics of what's happening. But no, completely 100%. We need your help. We know we don't deserve it, but we need your help.
Oh, don't ever say that. Anything else? I have one thing, but I don't want to interrupt you.
I have one.
There you go.
Do you have a problem with me asking Belinda or somebody to send out a request for people interested in serving on the strategic plan update committee?
I think that's a great idea.
Good, because you asked me to head it up, so
You
I want to get
volunteered.
going on
You volunteered.
Yeah. it. Same thing.
I won't apply this time though.
All right, I know you can.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, Julie's not here, but, well, hang on. I wanted to let you know, Julie and I have talked about trying to make the office space a little bit more efficient because she's got, people coming in and stopping in, Stephen's been here, Melissa's been here, et cetera. So she and I are trying to, and then there's things that have to be stored. Before Ricardo left, he said, look, we have some banker's boxes we have to keep. So Julie and I are talking about how to try to organize things in the best possible way. So I'll talk to you about that a little bit more since Julie's not here right now and it's late. We'll talk about it maybe at the workshop. So just wanted to let you know. That's all.
Any others?
Are we determined then next time will just be a workshop? No CDD meeting? Is that what we decided?
I'm good with that.
Will we have expenditures to approve?
But the parking lot thing's gonna come through, hopefully the next time, if we don't, can we wait until a month and a half for Rick to come back for a
A
parking
month
lot?
and a half, we're only talking a month.
It's a month.
It'll be a month.
Okay.
Why not? We could try.
Anything from your side?
No?
Nothing you can't ratify at the next meeting.
Okay.
So then the February 10th meeting is just a workshop at 9:30.
Well, that would be nice.
So I won't be here and I assume Linda won't be.
So do those get YouTube by chance or no?
Keith records them.
He records them,
Yeah.
but it's not live.
It's not.
I mean, I can.
Oh, no, that's fine. I
If you
just
want it,
wanted-
you
No,
can.
heck no. The less I'm on camera, the better off I am.
And there's no public comment in those.
Well,
Can we?
No,
Yes.
there is, yeah,
We
there
should.
should be an allowance for public comment, just like you do at the
Okay.
beginning of your workshop.
Yes.
Just no video.
Oh, you wanted.
Well, just as a piece of information didn't come up, the CA actually went to the county. So we have other organizations,
They were,
they went to the county before our conversation with Mr. Deal. And that's a part of our challenge, I think, is, I might ask, why was the POA ever involved in the shopping center? Because it's outside our gates.
Well, but you're the only entity who represents the entire community in terms of votes, right? I mean, the CA doesn't, and only Florida residents vote for the CDD, even though we take everybody's taxes. So, and you're the master association under the declaration.
Yes.
But the county doesn't know that.
No, they don't, and my concern, I'm just gonna say it since we're still in the supervisor remarks, is there's already confusion at this, so this is the other thing I wanted to say, I couldn't find my paper. I think there is some confusion, for example, at the city level, you know, who's in charge? We know there was an issue with a declaration that had to get signed, and it went to, thank God it went to Jerry, because, you know, Jerry knew how to get it done and who to send it to, but, you know, I think the city needs to know, you know, who, and the county, you know, who the official entities are, and in my opinion, it's not the CA. But
But I think the community needs to know that too. I mean, I was just a boatload of
we
confusion.
can talk about that at the joint meeting.
Yes.
All right,
Hopefully we'll work on getting one scheduled.
so it is 12:57 PM, unless there's anything else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
I've frozen out.
Thank you, everybody.
It came out of the.
It was all of a sudden.